Disclaimer: the information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GAN's processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
An amazing event happened on planet Earth in the beautiful city of Beijing, China. The cosmic ray technology was shown for the first time to the public by the financial arm of Keshe Foundation, the American Mark Ray Corporation, which is traded on the US stock exchange. Mr. Keshe himself went to China to show creation of materials from the magnetic fields by using obsolete technology, or what we call rotating gas reactors with electric motors. He's using these old reactors as a starting point for humanity to slowly accept the evolution in science and technology. For 3 days straight, the reactors were run and shown live on Zoom so that anybody from around the world who wanted to could come in and see. Black particles like dust start appearing on the white paper sheets around the reactors. These particles are being created through the reactors and the fields of the universe and the inertia of our planet. They are not coming from the room. There were 4 sets of pairs of reactors with red and green gases spinning in them. We were told they were not CH3 and CuO, but something else. They were set up in a star formation on tables inside the front windows of the Intercontinental Hotel. Anybody passed on the street could see them. White papers and spoons were spread around the reactors to catch the materials being formed from the fields. Some knowledge seekers were able to capture on video when black specks suddenly appeared on the paper, like out of thin air. It was very interesting to witness when energy first appears in the matter state. As time went on and the fields built up and changed strength, the specks formed into bigger pieces and some elongated, and some changed color into gold. This is the first time the public has been able to freely witness the creation of matter from energy. At the end of 3 days, Mr. Keshe collected more particles and showed everyone attending. An interesting thing occurred. When he touched the black dust on the paper with his finger, it turned gold. He said it interacted with the fields of the inertia of the earth through his finger. This phenomenon was written about in ancient times when the Greek god Midas touched things and it was said they turned to gold. What we witness here is how everything in the universe is created, from ourselves to the planets and even cancer.
And welcome each and all to the Keshe American Knowledge Team. It is May 31st, 2026, and the process is ongoing. What we saw, the cosmic rays creating materials in Beijing in 2025, in 2026. We've just seen the cosmic rays at work in the agriculture sector, in a way, a great gift to the farmers and humanity, where one culture does not have to necessarily eat another culture. I think we've covered this in some of the teachings in the past. That's what this word agriculture kind of jokingly means. But it, again, freedom of the man, freedom of the soul of the man, and this is the work we're doing and moving it forward for humanity, even if we don't see all of it within our generation, and we probably won't, because this process keeps expanding, and this is what we've seen. And of course, the expansion is foretold by Mr. Keshe to be approximately 10,000 spin-offs in the next 24 months. I don't know if that'll be 1,000 a month or 500 a month, or they'll all come in the next 2 years, but these are the things that's happening in the research center and so on. So what's been shown agricultural wise, using the cosmic rays and other techniques, magravs, and even bringing fish into the environment to be fed without the typical meal or whatever fish usually eat. This is, again, the pinnacle of research on this planet, I think, in agriculture and many of the other sciences. And of course, we're about to see in a few weeks, perhaps, glimpses of the new space city. Perhaps that'll be a vacation destination. Again, no crime, no stealing, flying cars, perhaps. Some of the things you've seen in cartoons or science fiction movies being fed plasmatically. But of course, that can all come through other means like the One Nation Network and the game of peace and enlightenment. So that's what we're going to try to do today, is just to try to connect all of the sort of areas with only 5% of the information. As we know, the foundation is keeping pretty close to the vest on most of the work it's doing. But we're going to try and connect the ONNs and the Keshe Foundation coin, the cosmic ray balls, the Mark Ray Corporation. There's more than one location of that. The cosmic ray balls, and of course, more on the agricultural side of what we can do. And even in the Brazil meeting on Friday, people were reporting that they felt they could absorb some energy by just watching the video. And of course, this is part of the expansion of, and maybe something's already embedded in that video, we don't know, but certainly when the cosmic ray antennas are added to this whole structure, it will become, as we say, will put you in a envelope of cosmic rays, whether it's for feeding, for travel, for energy, or wellness. And I think this is how the technology is going to be delivered. And of course, we had a little discussion before we started on the AI, and some people see it as a savior and other people see it as bringing demise, but maybe we can, as we understand, remotely embed a brain cell and emotion into this AI that instead of gaming humanity, humanity will be gamed towards peace. And this is part, I think, of the well thought out, well planned work of the Keshe Foundation in the background. Again, we're here just looking at just a few percent of what's been revealed to the public, but we believe before we see, because we trust in our central energies that what we're doing is correct, and we know it is correct, as our work is correct and forever. So we'll try to cover a bit in the different workshops. Perhaps 643, he's mentioned something about the ONNs and the cosmic ray balls, which, again, there's some available still. And this is part of a work of the combination of the Mark Ray and the Keshe coin and the cosmic ray balls. We're not sure how it's all being put together, but we're certainly getting a glimpse. Is anyone not impressed of what they've seen in the latest workshops and even last year of what we saw in the opening video? Again, the pinnacle of research and the pinnacle of a city that's about to be revealed. And perhaps this city has been already, as what we saw last Thursday, has already been in progress for quite some time. I think the space city is probably in the same track. We just didn't think it existed because we haven't seen it yet. And this is part of the work of the Keshe Foundation in the background. And visiting those cities, maybe you'll take that essence home with you and promote it, or even have more people visit, because these will expand across. We have many opportunities to help support, expand this whole development of what's happening to this planet in the background, which again is unknown to most people on this planet, of the bigger picture, which we've been given a glimpse of and continue to be opened up to this understanding. So we're fortunate and humble to be here in this position, even to sort of contemplate and examine much information that we've never heard of, especially draining your own lymph, for example, or sunglasses or toothpaste, which was also referred to. So there's many little things, or perhaps they're big things, we can do for ourselves. And probably the main one is to become more peaceful. Anyone want to make any comments before we read the World Peace Treaty? Would anyone like to read the World Peace Treaty? Perhaps I should expand it a bit. You don't have to be an angel to read it, or an angel to actually sign it. Probably none of us were, and we're still on that path, including myself, to become more peaceful through this ethos of Mitra, what we're calling, or the dimension of physicality, to become more peaceful by thinking, speaking, and acting correctly. And of course, it's your journey. But this is a document found within the Keshe Foundation. World leaders will sign, whether they sign with the pen or whether they sign with the pen of their soul. And this is what is required, I guess, for bigger collaboration with the Keshe Foundation in work in manufacturing and other areas, that you sign and become part of the World Peace Treaty. Again, it's more about yourself. This is between you and your soul. I certainly can't control your thoughts, and I certainly can't control your words. And if I try to control your actions, the police may arrive. So we don't want to do that. But it's up to each and every one of us to investigate and understand where we perhaps needed an improvement in this area. And perhaps that improvement continues on for quite a long time. We were created to be perfect, but we're not quite there yet. Certainly with the systems we're seeing is going to, and the cosmic rays and adjusting of the soup will help this whole process to manifest itself in a beautiful way. So anyone?
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Well, World Peace Treaty. We as citizens from this moment on.
Okay, you've covered your mic, or you've muted your mic.
Oh, really?
Could we start again? Yeah, we lost your voice, unless it's one of those mics that do funny things.
Okay, is this better?
Yes, clear. Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you,
World Peace Treaty. We as citizens of the earth, moment on, accept to lay down rules of aggression and war. We shall never think about getting involved or incite war, or develop or use any tools of war on the planet or in space. To this we all agree and swear if territory, religion, city, town,
Okay.
soul.
I think you may have competing microphones in the background. It was coming in and going out, unless you're moving around.
I'm sitting still.
But I think we've gotten the gist of it. It's quite self-explanatory, but at the same time, it's quite deep. Go ahead, Herm. Sorry.
You want me to read it again?
Yeah, but there's some sort of muffled microphone for some reason. Anyone
don't know
else
what it is.
experiencing that, or is that just me?
Yes, it's having problem there,
Okay, then somebody else do it.
Okay. World Peace Treaty. We, as citizens of the earth from this moment on, accept to lay down all tools of aggression and war, We shall never think about getting involved or incite war or develop or use any tools of war on this planet or in space. And to this we all agree and swear with our, and you can delete as appropriate, our nation, our territory, our council, our religion, our city, our town, our body, and our souls. Simply put your name there. Again, on behalf of your soul, your nation, whatever you'd like to put in there. Have it witnessed, and after signing this treaty, be proud to display this certificate wherever you consider being important to you, that everyone can see and know your ethos to fellow men and the mankind and other created beauties of the Creator. So the bigger struggle is within yourself, creating that peaceful universe. And I say peaceful universe because what we see in the depths of the universe, we see in the depths of the soul of the man. So perhaps we have a little bit of taint or indentedness that we sort of need to correct and need some help with it as well, because apparently all the fields and what's come together has left us short in more areas than we're aware of. And this is one of the reasons that our physicality does some very funny things. But there are technologies, and you can probably achieve more of this on your own as well, because I made the man in the image of myself, so we know no limitations. However, the conditions on this planet or the environment does not allow us to operate fully peacefully. And of course, the soul or your central energy becomes indented because of this. And this is part of the work of the Keshe Foundation, not only for the planet, but across the universe, because we've opened up as the souls have left this planet and other creations have started. Apparently, they're on the same path as this planet, because we're carrying some of this wrongdoing or cancer into the creation of the universe. And this is why it's only a small fraction of the creation, but this is why it's, in a way, this sort of problem is going to be worked out and balanced out here on this planet, that we start to shine as the rest of the universal community shines, apparently. So this is the World Peace Treaty. Every day we encourage the world leaders through our emotions in our fields to endorse this. And I think maybe some of them have in the background. They're just not ready to talk about it at this point. But I think what we saw last week, which was announced, which I haven't seen anything in the news about Russia and China sort of working together without certain borders, and other nations perhaps coming on and maybe even expanding across to the BRICS. And that's the idea of the One Nation Planet, or the program we have on Tuesdays, One Planet, One Nation, One Race for World Peace. I mentioned that yesterday to someone at the counter where I went in to purchase something. And this is a young fella too, and he says, that really sounds good to me. And I felt kind of nice, and so we opened up a little bit more. And that's part of the work we're doing, is just to open up a new dimension to people, thinking outside the box in a way. And of course, as Mr. Keshe said, we're opening up the mystery of the matter state of the entity to its energy dimension, which of course we know that the energy is manifested before the creation of matter state. Of course, you'll need a little bit of inertia to see that through. Any comments on the World Peace Treaty? And again, I think rather than talking to the doorman or other people, if you reflect it in your thinking and your speaking and your acting, that's probably a more powerful message than your words to another's physicality. But again, I don't tell anyone how to pick up and how to choose or what to choose in this knowledge. As he said, we need to do your own trusting in yourself and preserve your own soul. Not so much anyone else's. That's the idea. Not so much the physicality, I should say. But again, it's all about you and not so much anyone else. And of course, as you apply some of the ideas of this ethos of Mitra, which I had never heard of before the Keshe Foundation. I have heard of the gifts of the three wise men that went to see the newborn child, the Christ, and they brought gifts. And I was always under the impression they were all matter state gifts. But apparently, all the Christians, including myself, missed it. The three gifts from the three wise men were the thinking, speaking, and acting good. But who can control that? Only you. And then, of course, as you participate in your process of giving, and that was interesting what Mr. Keshe said about you block yourself from receiving. And at one point in time, he said receiving is more important than giving. And we always talk about giving being more important, but maybe that was part of it, not to block yourself perhaps from receiving. And we do this to ourselves. And after you start to participate in the process, you'll start to be proud of the work you do, and you'll start to be proud of the person you are, and you'll start to be proud of the difference you're making, because you're making the difference on the energy level. We're not looking for so much of a confirmation in the matter state. Again, these souls that are low, that we're elevating, need a lot of attention and a lot of elevation. So it's not a day job, but the whole process starts to build your understanding and your confidence of working in this energy dimension, which has been a mystery to all of us. But I'm trying to open it up for myself. I don't think I can open it up for you, although I can share what I think I understand about it, which is the basic directive within the Keshe Foundation. So those are two minor benefits, or big benefits, depending on how you see that, of working with the World Peace Treaty. And as said, if you're a manufacturer or a specialist, or you want to take a certain work a little farther, please write to info@Keshe Foundation to share your ideas. None of this is patented, as he said. The creator doesn't do any patenting, so everyone's free to copy. But if you do get involved, it's probably going to be a request of signing the World Peace Treaty and moving in that direction closer to the creator by becoming more peaceful in your thinking, your speaking, and your acting. So I think there's a lot of perfection or improvement we can all do. But it's, again, one of the structures where he said the game of peace and enlightenment, the ethos, as you play this game, the ethos sinks in. So there's other ways of, in a way, improving your thinking, speaking, and acting good, or balancing it out, let's say. And even our creator works the same way, but he's learned to tame most of these emotions when they do appear. And again, it's if you become peaceful, that doesn't mean wrong thoughts, wrong ideas will not manifest or appear to you, but you just have to figure out how to balance these things out. Do they elevate another soul by you entertaining them, or do they take away from another entity? This is one of the things I think about. Anyone want to make any comments about this thinking, speaking, and acting before we go and hear more about agriculture and so on? And I'd like to spend a lot of time, what Mr. Keshe was saying. As he said, give me an hour a day for a week on television and I'll change your nation. So we're not on television, but we are on the internet. So let's give them an hour or two at least to send out the fields. Not only is it being interpreted by the ear of the physicality, but also the souls are also being touched in the plasmatic way. So that's why I like to give the professor plenty of time to make his points and to convey in a way through the ear and through the soul of the man. As he said, when you share some of these teachings and things, you're actually sharing the soul of a universal teacher. And he is actually interacting with your soul. Again, we're just scratching the surface on the central energy in the soul. So I don't want to sound like I'm a know-it-all or a Gnostic about it. We're just starting to explore. I mean, if he can say what you see in the depths of the universe, you see in the depths of the soul of the man, you can see how deep, or perhaps it's unlimited depth. but we're just getting into the first sort of layers of it, or scratching the surface, as we like to say. So there's much more. Anyone? Okay, let's see this another revolutionary video, which we'll continue to play and share. Again, it's not copyrighted, so anyone can share it anywhere, as I understand it. So let's go and listen to Rick play the video that Mr. Keshe said. Again, this video was being touched up over the last number of weeks. It was promised, I think, about 4 or 5 times, and I guess this was our lucky day that we've actually got to see the most advanced research in agricultural happening on this planet. No pesticides, no fertilizers. Yes, go ahead. Okay, Milan, I think your mic is open. Did you want to add something? Is your mic working? I think it is. I thought I heard your voice.
Yeah, no, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, very good. So let's see what, I think we're going to watch this actually, because if I just put up the words, maybe we'll do that after the video. Let's see how this plays. Even though it's a beautiful narrative and there's many things we're going to try to cover, as I said, but let's see, this is part of the feeding system. Yes, you can get the material in your hand. This is a gift to the farmers as well, because growing seasons were shortened, getting an extra harvest in, which can make the difference to many farmers. So there's many things being spoken about in this whole process. And I've never seen a 10,000, I guess, dust. That must mean it's down to the 10,000th. I'm not sure, but it's a very clean room. And then, of course, there's something in the ground as well. Anyone want to make any comments about what they've seen? If anyone's not impressed, you can go first. I think we're all very impressed. And it's just, as he said, this has been around for a bit of time. The plants just didn't grow overnight. And I think they've shown many harvests, as he said, in different times within the foundation we've seen over the years. So this work has been laid out, and we thank the government, the Chinese government, for allowing this to be, in a way, there's a gift, I guess, not from the government per se, but probably another knowledge seeker, but for allow this to flourish in China. So we're very fortunate that that's because there is quite a strong control for good reasons. But we're very fortunate to allow some of the demonstrations in the Intercontinental Hotel in 25, and now what we've seen in this beautiful research of agriculture center. And next time, I think in a few weeks, we're going to be seeing a glimpse or some aspects of the new space city, which will probably be expanded. Of course, right now, the agriculture is only available in China, but perhaps through cosmic ray technology, as they create the pure seeds and gather the fields, or being able to collect them with the cosmic ray material, you can be fed sooner than that, but through the fields without any matter state involved. Feel free to stop it, make a comment, or just enjoy and observe a master at work, at his craft, let's say.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. Thank you. We have a special video to play for our break here, and having to do with the Chinese agriculture. So I'll play that, and I'll remind our audience that we will have an opportunity to ask questions of Mr. Keshe after the break. And to do that, if you're an attendee here, you can put up your virtual hand, and then we can allow your microphone to open if you'd like to ask a question. Otherwise, you can text questions into the webinar chat or into the Q&A in the Zoom here, or into the chat in the YouTube.
Can I just add something here? What you're about to see is the confirmation of the Keshe Foundation technology at the level which is today and expanding in the space city. You see different dimensions, how Keshe Foundation has grown and is becoming. And for the time being, we just show you what is developed and what is owned by Keshe Foundation and the operation. What you see is done by knowledge seekers and the workforce in China. At the end, and on the other channel, you will be given the link where you can buy the products only in China, because you have to have the facilities. We cannot export these products out of China yet, but you see where the future is and what Keshe Foundation today is. It's not those little things. It's what it's become. It's becoming the center of the knowledge in the most advanced way in the space technology. I hope you enjoy. Go ahead, please.
And I just want to thank all of the participants here for supporting in whatever way you have in the past and will continue to do in the future. That little paint pen you bought, or the bar of soap, or some of the other things you may have in your inventory has all been really put back into research and so on. So none of the money's been wasted. Mr. Keshe isn't buying mansions or jets. He's already done that probably. I know he's had jets and private jets and his own jets and the rest of this. So all of this is in part of the bigger work. So thank you even for your support on the energy level, to the various teams, to the research centers. We haven't really valued this energy work or thought it was less significant than contributing $1 in the matter state to the foundation. So continue with whatever work and expand it. And we thank you for your time, help, and service to the community. I just wanted to ask, is that an ultraviolet room? I know it said for blowing off dust, but is that sort of a sterilization process that's going on? I've never really worked in any sort of sterile rooms, but that looks like some sort of ultraviolet. Maybe it's just because they do use that in certain processes, but I don't know. Okay. So it's a highly, I don't know if this is how they make the chips in the same sort of environment, or is this clean environment even cleaner than chip manufacturing, if anyone knows? Okay, anyone want to make any comments about the video? We saw the hydroponic method and we saw the soil method. Anyone taste the lettuce? Did their mouth water a bit? Again, this was reported in the Brazilian meeting of last Friday. I sort of felt it a bit. But even as he said, once we transfer energy to you, you will get the taste of the lettuce or something, but that in the cosmic ray dimension, it'll only last a microsecond. So you'll get a flash of a taste, but you'll receive all the energy of it. And this is the beauty that it can't be interfered with. So many people are going to get fed through this process of physical feeding, as well as the mostly, I think, or it'll be far reaching through the fields, those who can take it, or there needs to be an uptake in a way created, or your desire to receive it. Any comments? Otherwise, we'll go and hear Mr. Keshe explain more about this whole process and what we've just seen. Anyone? It's truly phenomenal, pinnacle of science on this planet. And as he said, they're going to come and visit and observe, and hopefully we can start to introduce this to the farmers and they can unite in the plasma understanding of how things can possibly work. Again, they may not be given the secrets of the technology, but perhaps they'll be given reactors and other things and non-GMO seeds and so on and so forth. So this has major ramifications in the agricultural industry. As he said, it's really to create the pure seeds. Any comments? Okay. Let's continue on and listen to Mr. Keshe.
Well, that was a lot packed into a few minutes. Very exciting development. Would you like to say more about that, Mr. Keshe?
This is the Keshe Foundation Space Center in China. This is part of, but now become part of the space city. We're producing seeds which have no fertilizer, no human touch. And the system is very simple. You have a link. If you're Chinese, only in China, you can place an order through this website link, even today. The product is already getting reached and going out to the market in China. And gradually, the reason we do, and we have set such a high-class production, is to create a pure seed with no genetic modification. If you're a Chinese, you can take a picture and order on your WeChats and on the Alibaba line directly for your deliveries. The packages are there. But what you will see in the coming weeks and days in the supermarkets in China, you go to shops in supermarkets, you have normal product and especially rated, highly priced bio products. What we will do and what is said to be done is we ask the retailers to add a next section next to bio as Cosmo. You will see Cosmo products across China and next in United States and in Europe. We'll transfer the technology across. As is our own technology, we don't need any licensing, we don't need any whatever you call contract.
Anyone want to explain that? We don't need any licensing and we don't need any contracts. Remember the Mark Ray Corporation, what you saw with the gold in the beginning, and maybe there's a Chinese Mark Ray as well. We'll just show that. This is the home of the cosmic ray technology. Let's just see if I have it here. And this is the licensing financial arm of the Keshe Foundation. But he's saying we don't need any licensing as it's our own technology. Anyone want to explain that? Okay.
As you see, the package itself, it says Cosmo product, and it's part of the Cosmic Ray product of the Keshe Foundation. But with the Cosmo products, you pay exactly more or less, except in special cases, the same price as you pay for your normal goods. Living a healthy life, living a correct life, does not mean to cost. And this is one of our targets. In a way, bio, which you pay for, our villages, people get free, live a village life, but pay more for it in the civilization of the cities.
And again, when he mentions this term bio, it's the same what we're using here in the West as what we consider or could be packaged as organic produce, organic product.
With Cosmo, he brings the man's what he eats in the village and what a man eats in town exactly to one. But this time, no contamination. This time, no hype on prices to bring. We charge extra in some sectors of the Keshe Foundation just because of the promotion and supporting the Keshe Foundation. These products hitting the market as a normal product should be exactly the same as you pay, but with the difference that these products carry energies, which changes the emotion, it changes the health, it changes the wellness, it changes everything else, because you know you're eating something which not even the what they call bio, which uses animals fertilizers, are used.
So again, if someone wants to know some of the benefits, the energies which changes the emotion, it changes the health, it changes the wellness, it changes everything else. And this is a product and a label that we can believe in, I think, and trust in. This is part of the work that we can get products that do what they say or are produced, as we find many times that anyone can place a standard product in a bag that's labeled bio or organic. It doesn't mean, and I certainly don't have the ability to test for it. But in this process, this is a product we can believe in and trust in. And so it'll be called Cosmos. This is the line of the produce. Yes? Someone had something? Okay, if not, we'll continue. Any questions, comments? You're starting to put the bigger picture together of how this is going to be delivered. And again, I have, yes?
The emotions that the product will give, I assume it's not, the fields are not embedded in this product per se, but then when you want something, if I eat the product and if I want a different type of emotion, I will get that. Because the product can enhance my emotion. So my emotion will be different from your emotion. So it's not, is it a particular type of lettuce that will have the emotion that I will need? Because I'm thinking we have to enhance that emotion individually, but the food, the vegetable was grown in the sense to where it's capable as a seed to mimic the emotions that we desire. Am I correct in that?
Again, it's all how you see it. When I was thinking of the emotions, I was thinking keeping you in a more balanced condition. It changes the emotion In other words, you're speaking, you're thinking, and you're acting in a way.
So, but it's your desire. It's your desire, right? It's individual desires.
Sure. Whatever you create, yeah. But I think it creates a balance in emotion. The same way the sun, it has to go millions of miles in each direction, backward and forward, side to side, to keep a balance in the solar system, let's say. So I think this product has a way of creating balance within your structure, whether, again, wellness, health, emotional, where you don't maybe fly off the handle as easy with your partner, your coworkers, your children, your friends. I don't know. It's just something I was thinking about. It changes everything else.
So what type of regular food that we have now that gives us emotions that you know of?
That creates emotions?
Yeah, that you know
I
of.
think they all do. And then plus what's on top of them from the farmers, that they use to help grow them and everything. That has an effect as well on your emotions. This is why he wants to purify and get some of this tainted material. He's even extending it now to which it was mentioned before, the herbs in China don't work.
That means we're not in control of that, because those foods
partially,
are tainted.
Yes. Partially, yeah. I think yes. But what he said about these colors and with the sugar and how the children can fly off the wall, with some of these colors and how they're embedded into even clothing we wear, can affect our emotions, can affect our health.
Yeah, so that's my point. So with these enhanced products coming out of the foundation, at least now we have a choice. So whatever emotions that I would like to have, that product will give it to me. Because at this point, currently, we don't have a choice. That's why we're addicted to some of this corrupt way of farming or eating or getting things from the food.
Right. Yeah, no, I mean, it's a huge problem. I mean, I was hearing a doctor report that we have like a spoon of nanoplastics in our brain alone. And those nanoplastics can actually penetrate your cells in your body. Now, as Mr. Keshe said, it's seen as the body as energy, but it'll take a generation or 100 years or a century for the body to make an organ or realize what to do with this, because in the 1920s, nobody had any plastic basically in their structure. So this is part of changing that whole process. And of course, this is part of the overall enhancement or the elevation perhaps of the soul that we haven't really seen yet. Okay. Anyone else? Thank you. Yes. Oh, all the time, anytime. The pool's big enough for all of us.
Okay. So, Ike, you brought up a very good point there. I would like to throw a different point of view. Our existence on this environment is able to withstand the toxicity. When you're not able to withstand it, then you perish. So obviously the fact of the matter is that we're all alive at this point, so we're all dealing with this toxicity that's on this planet. We're not alone. The plants are also doing that. So as much as we've had this phenomenal push for our environmental concern, such as limiting the amount of hot water that we use in our bathtubs and limiting the number of toilets that we flush, it pales in comparison to the pollution that we're getting with these wars in the Middle East. And, when we're talking about carbon footprints and carbon credits, these warring nations owe the population of the planet an incredible amount of carbon credits. So they are obviously, again, rules for some and not for others. So, we have blue box systems, for instance, where you sort your garbage out so that you don't pollute. And this is so minuscule, whereas we are, in fact, penny wise and pound foolish. So what has
But
happened?
it does, Alex, make you feel warm and fuzzy that you're doing something.
Oh, thank you so much. I really want to feel warm and fuzzy. Yeah, please tell me what I want to hear, not what I need to hear. Uh, well said, Mark. But the reality of it is that with the cosmic feeding, that comes from the source. We are feedback dominant, so what we are feeding off of is what we have in this earthbound state. So we have announced years ago, if you remember, that we have been able to unmodify, do reverse the genetic modification. And of course, at that point in time, there was an immediate sale of Monsanto to Bayer, and that's the reflex action of it. So, however, we are still spraying glyphosate. That is a fact. And we're using it not just as a pesticide, but we're using it as a desiccant. So that toxicity is in our food. So as we are becoming more aware of our organic needs and how important it is to eat the proper food, no one actually has enough money to buy that food because no one is using the technology to create that food. So, but we have vast amounts of investment into polluting our food. Now, fundamentally, uh, uh, you cannot absorb anything that you don't want to. Nothing anyone says or does can affect you unless you allow it. This is the key. So you have to be a willing accomplice. And this is where depression and the pity poor me attitude comes in. We become the victims of our own situation. So you could literally eat that poor quality food. And in one case, you would suffer, and in another case, you could still extract the nourishing factors that you're seeking and reject the toxicity that you are repelling. And this becomes a little bit more advanced in terms of our not only our understanding but our own discipline. And going by my case alone, this is a challenge. So we, we all like our potato chips. And so the answer to your emotion question is, yeah, potato chips are a comfort food. And in many cases, we're seeing that the price of that comfort food is exceeding the cost of the nutritional food. If we can get back to the original nature and then eat that, then we would get the maximum benefit and we wouldn't have to have this toxicity resistance that we have. But what we will have to do is go through toxicity withdrawal. We will have to detoxify our immune system because our immune system is that buffer. And fat encapsulates toxicity, and fat is a buffer. So fat becomes our friend. And if we eliminate the toxicity, then we can eliminate the fat. It's very easy to do. And but that's a sequence. So if you do the opposite, which many people do on fad diets and crash weight loss programs, then they get sick because now they've exposed themselves to their own toxicity by removing that barrier. So in essence, we have several barriers. Some are physical and some are mental and emotional. But overall, we're living on a toxic planet, and it is getting worse by the day. So there has to be some kind of counterbalance to that. And this is what we're seeing now. The next step after that, of course, is that we won't have to eat these vegetables because what we're seeking is that nutrition. And that nutrition is in an energy state, not in the physical state. And this is where the science is leading us. However, when you're looking at millennia of acquired taste, acquired social structures, there has to be a gradual way to do this without a radical shift, because the radical shift causes other trauma, and that trauma then becomes also toxic. So there has to be a graceful way to do this. Eating and drinking water and going to the washroom are daily functions. They are not therapies. They are not recovery programs. It's part of what we do on this planet, and it's an everyday function. And too many of us, and I'm talking more than 50% of us, are dysfunctional in that regard. And where it becomes a real problem is when we think about taste and we equate that with the quality of food. We have to understand that the taste is in our mouth, but the quality of the food is in the production. I hope that helps your viewpoint there, Ike.
Yeah, indeed. Yes, makes sense. Thanks.
Any other comments? Dennis has put in the chat, is there a website for online info about Cosmo products? Perhaps you can look on WeChat if you have that, or Alibaba, and actually see what's being offered. But I haven't seen anything. Again, they need export licenses. This is only within the structure of China, as I understand it, at this point. Next week, that could be different. Anyone have a WeChat or an Alibaba? You can look for the Cosmo products. All right, let's continue.
Because they don't tell us how much antibiotic the cow had before we use this manure. With this process, there is no such a thing. We do not transfer diseases from animals to us and then changing man, what we call genetic. You have to understand the purpose of this structure is not to sell goods. We set up this for the world to come and see. We already have universities, institutes across China flying in, coming in to see what the change is. Universities like Beijing Agricultural University tying up, other universities across China tying up how we can bring a dream of a man to reality. This agriculture land is not set to produce, to sell, but we sell, we produce, that we follow what it does, how long it lasts on the shelves in the market, what changes will bring to people, what happens to the people who consume this product, which changes their wellness. It is not a marketing, this is introducing new technology on an advanced level. What you saw at the greenhouse is one of the most advanced agricultural hydroponic systems in China. Even the universities are aware of it. They are coming to see what it is, how it works, how can you grow vegetables without fertilizers, how can you just change the environment and receive it. This, what you see as the center of the agriculture of the Keshe Foundation, is one of the most unique, most expensive centers ever set up. Next week or next couple of weeks, you'll see the extension to this. How now we use the same agriculture for tens of thousands of square meters of Chinese herbs to bring it back to what it was. And these herbs will be directly for sale to public. And then you will see how we are interfering or we are interacting with the mass production with what we call the drones and the rest, which is already ongoing. It's not something we're going to do. It's just that our team decided to break it in two parts. You see this part where we come.
So again, some of this farming may become quite automated in a way where the drone is sitting in the center and it sprays out when it needs to and so on and so forth. And that's probably already happening now. Apparently they bought quite an expensive drone for this, or it was gifted as a gift, and they're using this drone to apply what they need to apply, probably in the outside soil research center. So we're going to see that in the near future as well. Some of those pictures probably.
And this is all in one space. It's not different places. Tens of thousands of square meters of agricultural land is used, is paid, is operated by Keshe Foundation, is owned by Keshe Foundation. And we are testing everything to see what's the best possible connections. And we already have had an agricultural specialist who's stayed here for a while, and he's taken knowledge already to another country, and because I said, one of the first spin-off of technology. In a few weeks' time, we'll show you one of the most elaborate space centers ever designed to work right in the center of a city, where the space city itself is a model for what is to come.
Okay, and again, a gift to the farmers. It was explained to us that one of the farmers in India, one of the main reasons, or the main reason for suicide among farmers is that they can't turn a profit, or they turn such a meager profit that they're so ashamed of their capabilities. So this is a godsend in a way to many farmers around the world who struggle on smaller plots and so on and so forth. So this has a much bigger effect, and we'll see it. So some of these products you'll see, I don't know, all of them will be certified, but certainly moving the seeds from GMO back to the original seed is part of the program of this for the farmers, and that saves them a lot of input, which they have to put in the beginning of the year. They go so far into debt. So as you can see, by doubling or tripling the harvest, this will make a huge impact, and the farmer being able to recoup seeds for the next planting without fertilizer, which is another expense, and without pesticides. These products will be prized. And of course, the workers, as we've seen in these greenhouses and inside and outside, or outside in the other centers, are happy to work there. There's an environment that's been created that's quite conducive for people to work without sort of having that I don't want to be here attitude, really, but I have to be here because I have to pay the rent this week. And that probably has an effect, as even chefs that prepare meals have an effect on the emotion that you feel from that meal. So the workers who are harvesting, they're going to feel part of the whole structure. And again, I think the plants are elevating them and vice versa. Okay, any comments? Feel free. Share what you think you understand.
The space should not be out of the reach of a man. Space should be part of the reach of the man, where you can fly your physicality, or you can arrange for your soul to travel the depth of the universe. The same structure, the same highest level standards is followed. Factories, research centers, development centers, all getting set up as you see in this video. Absolute to the excellence. We don't compromise. And now you know where your donations in buying goods from us, in helping us, has brought the Keshe Foundation. When you look at this picture, this is the edge of science in agriculture. Universities in the United States and universities in Europe dream to have such a thing. And now it's owned, run, and developed by the Keshe Foundation. And this center, as you can see, everything is controlled by us. The water, the air, we can change every combination we want to see what effect does. The purpose is to create pure seeds. That when we do what we call transmutation in a few months' time, and when we feed it through apps, that apple, which its energy was used for the app, for you to eat, to transfer energy, carries no fertilizers, carries no additives. It's as pure as the God created it.
And of course, this is the way the creator dines, without killing or destroying any of the creation or the love of creation, what we call made in the matter state. Doesn't destroy anything. Not that I'm saying if you feel like eating, you'll eat, of course. But this is moving closer towards the creator, that we don't have to kill and destroy any other creatures to exist. I made the man in the image of myself.
And as you can see, we use the latest technologies. Whatever you've seen on this video and what it comes is owned, run by knowledge seekers, by Keshe Foundation, independent of any government or any other organization, that they do not interfere. We take our losses, we learn from our mistakes, and everything is done according to the book rule of the Keshe Foundation, and not by any other order. And many institutes, universities have become aware of the change in the science of agriculture, as you see. I hope you enjoyed what you see, and this time we don't rely on no one, and we don't let anyone break it up. And I hope when you see one of the most advanced research centers ever built in the next few months, then you know where the Keshe Foundation is going, and you can become part of it. Collaborate with us, bring technology to us, and we develop it and we get back to humanity the correct way. Thank you very much. And I tell you one thing, these lettuces you see, you can't stop eating them. They have a magic addiction touch to them that's so amazing, because every time I walk into the research center, I get handed over a bag of it, and by the time we walk a few steps, I say, is it under the bag? And you can see it. Everything is a space though. Keshe Foundation is a space technology development organization, and now you see how we set it up.
And again, just to mention, with the Mark Ray Corporation, this is has a code designation apparently of 9661, which is space science, space research, space development. And this is one of the only companies that has this designation, and you can see how this can be used to perhaps grow food in space in the matter state if you're on a actual craft. But again, I wonder, because of the fact that there's so much energies in the universe, you may not ever feel hungry, but perhaps some nourishment would be there if you wanted to dine that particular way. Okay, let's go back and continue.
If your Chinese enjoy it, or if you go to China, find a place to order it, and then you know what the difference is. In the very near future, this will be developed and marketed the same way through Mark Ray Corporation, Keshe Foundation, and our arm in Austria through the Keshe Foundation sales office. Any questions?
Well, a question comes to my mind, Mr. Keshe, which is, can a man exist on lettuce alone?
More or less, yes. We can change it to anything you like.
Right. Well, maybe we won't need necessarily a variety of foods if it comes right down to it. Maybe the nutrients and, well, the energy itself from the cosmic rays and whatnot that's embedded in the lettuce, maybe that's enough.
We already are developing that system. That's a very complicated system. It's already not to be developed. It's partially built, and it'll be completed maybe next month or so, where within one system we can develop every enzymes, every vitamin, every hormone in the body of the man at the same time. It's not a dream.
You can probably make the lettuce taste like hamburger for those
More
that
or less, yeah.
really miss it.
Yeah, you can taste it anything, because it's just you feed what the lettuce gives you, what you create the emotion of what you're looking for. Now, those of you who criticize you, Keshe Foundation, let them see what's coming up and what it is. We are not here to prove anything.
Alex, that was it right there.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, what Alex was saying, yeah, and I mentioned it. Yeah, you create the emotion, so you have the choice. So instead of eating all kinds of food and all that, now we can create the emotions that we want. You might eat the lettuce, you might eat the vegetable, but you can create that emotion for some other wish that you want. So that's control right there.
Yeah, it's the same with the apple. He said you don't have to physically pick an apple to enjoy its energy and its beauty. And the apple tree doesn't even have to be in your backyard. It could be down the street or halfway around the world. And you can create that. Once we get better at this, I think, just by probably imagining it or creating that emotion of the apple somehow, and you're not stealing from the apple because you're absorbing fields that the apple doesn't need, that's given away. That was the thing with the cup and the orange, or the orange in the cup, of transferring its essence. And I always thought we were killing the orange doing that. No, we're just copying or replicating the fields of the orange into the cup. So you don't steal or destroy, because it's something the entity already gave up, and they just replicate it with the cosmic rays. Again, how that process is all done and delivered through an app is beyond my even imagination. But it's being done, and it has been done, and some of us have tested some of these things. Anyone want to mention that?
I'd like to add, problem resolution is based on stopping the causes of problem and starting the solution of the problem. So our existence is toxic, and it affects our emotion. And we can see the effects. We can see the radical effects through the disruption of our, shall we say, societal functions. So it leads us to be more argumentative and confrontational. And of course, that is exacerbated by the warmongers. By stopping the toxicity intake, that would be the first step. By starting the enhanced intake would be the second step. So it becomes a two-step process. We would like to go right away to the first step, but there has been severe opposition to this for a long period of time, and the Keshe Foundation is breaking through with this. So that is the difference. And so we will have both intermediate steps and baby steps along the way. We know the path that we're going, and that path is unstoppable. Thanks very much, Ike.
Yeah, and I always thought when Mr. Keshe went to the world governments around the year 2000 and said, I can show the people how to feed themselves and generate their own power, I thought he was actually going to teach us how to do that, but he's actually just making it available as an offer to you. The technology on how to do it is not going to be readily available initially, but you'll be able to access it. And I know, yeah.
Well, that's a key point, Mark. So we offered it to them, and did you notice the rush? You know, we have a gold rush and a silver rush, but did you see the agricultural rush? No. So why?
You say why? I don't think
yeah, I'm not going to answer that question.
Anyone's aware of it. This is groundbreaking research just being exposed in the public domain. Now, you would think it would be picked up, but that's probably going to be part of our job to expand it, promote it, continue to use it, and report to the others. Or perhaps they'll see the changes. You look different, you speak differently, you're calmer, you haven't had any issues with certain problems you've stated before. How is this all happening? Well, I cleaned up my act in a way. How did you do that? And then you can open it up.
Well, I think every alcoholic knows that alcohol addiction causes problems with the liver. So wouldn't that be enough motivation for them to stop?
Apparently not.
Apparently not. That's
It's an
right.
emotional.
That's right.
More than
So this is what Ike is hitting on. The point has to do with the emotional connection to the whole thing. And so, just logic and reasoning is not enough. And so we have a tendency to be self-destructive. And it seems to be generally socially acceptable. It doesn't make sense, and that's where the first problem is. We're trying to make sense of a really stupid situation. But when you look at the fundamentals, air, water, food, and shelter, those are the four fundamentals. Anything else that doesn't crack that top four is really not worth it. And the number of people who haven't taken care of those four basic fundamental requirements of existence on this planet are, diluting themselves. Having enough money left over so they can buy a cup of coffee is not in that top four. Having enough money left over to get some potato chips is not in that top four. But how much money do we invest in that? So, you are what you give your time and attention to. You're also what you give your money to. So if you want to continue, this kind of malaise on this planet, go ahead, knock yourself out, take your welfare money and keep buying these other products. But if you want to change the course of your life, bring peace and prosperity to this planet, the power is within you to change. And so the awareness has to transcend throughout the population to understand that nothing anyone says or does can affect you unless you allow it. And if you don't allow it, then you can be part of that. Becomes the stopping of the process and the starting of a new process, and you become part of that initiator. And this is where we have to understand that power is within us, and it comes from the creator directly. There is no intermediary, so we don't need to be wimpy, as they say. Back to you, Mark.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Or shall we continue this a little bit more? Perhaps, and then we'll go into the one ONN and perhaps show that. And there's a couple of clips, I think, with the cosmic rays and so on that we can share. It's all connected together. We just haven't seen the bigger picture yet. But we're proud and humbled to be here at the same time, just to, in a way, understand it for ourselves and share what we think we understand with the others. Again, getting 5% of the clues is maybe we need a few more clues to see the bigger picture, but it's being released gently, slowly, step by step. We're starting to see how all these different things that's been talked about or referred to in the Keshe Foundation, from the cosmic rays to the ONNs to the Keshe coin and so on, is all tied together in the Mark Ray Corp and many combinations of other things. But it's all being set up. As he said, we'll handle everything in the background. Just put your headphones on. All you have to do is observe and listen. And of course, if you want to make a trip to the Space City, I'm sure you'll be accommodated as well. And what a story to tell. First one in your area to fly in a hovering car, or to dine for 3 days fully satisfied without touching anything, or to see some other things that could happen in there, wireless power perhaps. Again, this will be not going out into the universe. This will be right on this planet that you can bring home and talk of the new space city. And that's why he's so positive on bringing it to the youth, because they are the ones that are going to energize the whole structure, even though all of us can participate. Let's just continue with this for a bit more. Any comments, feel free. It's all being, in a way, gifted to us. Okay, let's start this.
The cash coin comes on the back of this technology. When we tell you we evaluate the cash coin as 1,000 euro, now you see how it's backed. And the whole team of management is international management team from different countries in China. People, experts, they have flown in. And we have people just coming in, helping, advising, staying for a while, going back and remotely even teaching from remote. Knowledge seekers remote in China are teaching. Because don't forget, these guys you see here on the ladder, they're not knowledge seekers, but they're getting taught the work of the knowledge. And they're puzzled how you can do this. We get pests, we get parasites, we get weather conditions. We don't panic and jump into, oh, we have to find a chemical. No, we look what we have in the world of science of the Keshe Foundation, and we dig into it. We lose harvest because of an accident or a pest. We don't panic. We find a solution how we can change it, and we promote it. And this is already has happened. You will start seeing products of the Keshe Foundation in China and outside, especially for farming. They don't need chemicals. You have to understand how to use it, how to touch the soul of the material, and how to touch the physicality of it. Then it changes. Now you see what we're dealing with and where Keshe Foundation is. We are a space technology. We work at the space though. Universities are envying this space center. This agriculture center is envy of the universities. They want to get the graduates here. They want to see what the next step is. Producing food without fertilizer, without chemicals, at a price that every man can afford. It's a dream which comes reality. Any questions?
So again, I always thought that the bio was much too expensive for what you've gotten and everything, and now it's going to be put at the same price as the regular food, in certain, maybe an exception in certain instances. Any comments anyone would like to make? Okay, we've been talking, or you might have heard of the One Nation Network. This is a spread across this planet of 10,000 computers, in a way, to create a network, or where technology is sort of hidden behind this One Nation Network. The game of peace and enlightenment is in there as well. So I do have a bit of a thing that was created by the AI. And Gail, I don't know if you'd like to share this. We'll all learn a little bit more about the One Nation Network. You can find them, of course, on the Keshe Foundation store. Let's just take a look at that quickly. Let's see the store here. And this is called the One Nation Network. You can read about it. The AI has done some work in summarizing this, and this is all part of the structure that's being set up. As he said, you wanted peace. Peace is on the table. This is part of the way the combination of things we've been talking about are going to work. So let me just go back to that, if Gail would like to, and please feel free to add your comments, or if you can ask Gail to stop for a moment, you'd like to share something. Gail, are you up to that?
Well, I am, as long as my network is.
Okay.
I think it's steady now. You can hear me clearly?
Very nicely, yes.
Good. Okay, so we're going to talk about the One Nation Network. ONN, is a decentralized, independent communication and energy infrastructure. There's a lot in there. Proposed by the Keshe Foundation to establish a one nation policy across Earth. It is designed to replace current government controlled internet and satellite systems and it's going to create a global mesh that cannot be hacked or shut down. So, technological structure and capabilities. It's a decentralized mesh. The network is built on 10,000 ONN units spread across the planet, including locations in the deepest oceans and on mountains to create a protective dome around the Earth. And I mean, if you think about a magnetosphere, which the Earth has, it's actually going to assist in that as well. Then we have plasma antennas. Each unit is equipped with a specific plasma antenna that connects the soul of the man to the soul of the planet and the universe. So it's connecting soul of the man to the soul of the planet and the universe, bypassing traditional electronics and firewalls. Sounds rather exciting to me. And then we have self-sustainability. Future generations of these units are intended to be self-powered via integrated plasma generators, making them independent of the electrical grid. That's so very important. If we had a super solar flare and it would knock out a lot of the grid that would support our units. So this is very important. And then we have universal connection. The system consists of two parts, a man-made physical computer and a second universal part, which is the antenna. That antenna facilitates direct field interaction with the universe. And there's, of course, a lot of energy, orders of magnitude higher that we can tap into. Then we have core functions and purpose, transmission of emotions. Beyond data, the ONN is designed to transmit energy and, of course, emotions of peace and love directly to the human soul to change collective human behavior. If we're feeling love for fellow man, then I think that's a very good thing. We very desperately need peace on this planet. I don't like to hear about women and children being targeted during war or any of those.
So we're getting a lot of help from our friends, Gail, in the bigger family, perhaps.
Yes, I think we might be. Um, yeah, we do, peace is very, very critical, and it's such a waste of our potential when you think of war. Kind of stops things.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Energy-based nutrition and health. The network serves as the delivery system for nutrition apps. I have been a part of the testing in some workshops that we had, and I can verify 100% they work. I went the 2 days without food and water and hooked into the systems through our Zoom room, and they attached us to the system. And within 20 minutes, I was fully hydrated, and then the outcome, I didn't want to eat for 3 days. So it truly works.
And was this a painful process? Did you have to greatly struggle with it, or were your cravings trying to overwhelm you? Your favorite
Well,
soft drink or another food that you like to consume, or a berry? Was it a struggle at all?
well, I mean, obviously for 2 days, especially the water. I can go, a bit of time without food, but the water is really critical. And but 3 days I didn't even want to eat. Yeah, I have a fairly high metabolism, so I really was hungry. And but the water, Wow, 20 minutes. I was hydrated. So that tells you that the energy is, and the thing is, you don't have a glass of water to drink. You actually receive the direct energy of that glass of water. So, what does our body do? It works very hard to break down that glass of water to produce the energy. With the system, you just have direct energy of water given to you. So, you don't have to work at all for that water. And the same thing for the food. So, for those who are in a war zone, it's something that is very
Wow.
necessary
Yes,
and helpful. Yeah.
absolutely. Yes.
So here we are, universal education. All Keshe Foundation teachings and universal knowledge will be loaded onto these units, allowing users to tap into knowledge through enlightenment rather than traditional schooling. So it's I call it true knowledge. Um, some call it Akashic records and all sorts of things, but it is loaded with correct information.
And you'll be able to tap into it, as he said, once the
Yeah.
antennas come in, he said the workshops will be embedded into the ONN network and embedded into the soul of the man as well, where you'll be able to, through cosmic ray technologies, actually communicate on the zero time communication level by just thinking and then receiving an answer, perhaps.
Yeah.
Again, we'll have to see how this is why he's saying, even though they're taking in some students in schooling right now, similar to the Montessori effect, this will be, universities in the future will probably be more or less eliminated. Maybe not for research and so on, but as
Yes, I think that research will become the major focus in the future, which makes it interesting because it'll be easier for us to learn.
but what if we run out of things to research?
I don't think we ever will.
I don't
There's
either.
so much. I have been so think I thought that at the beginning. I thought, okay, maybe 1 or 2 years, everything will be fine. But it continues to astound me.
Myself as
How
well, Gail. And how deep can we go? Is it almost bottomless in every sort of topic or knowledge in a way? You know,
Yes, because we have access to universal knowledge now. So I mean, that's everything. So it never ever stops. Look at how we have changed over a number of years. Yes, we have had some negative influences stopping us, but now with these wonderful, wonderful new systems, that won't be happening anymore. Step by step, it doesn't come overnight, but we will adapt to it one by one. And I look forward to seeing the little ones starting, I think Mr. Kesh said 3 years old. I'm having a problem on my internet. Mark, are you able to hear me?
I can. You're still clear up to this point,
Okay.
Gail, if you'd like to continue.
I can, but I know I can't see the words. They're fuzzy,
Oh,
so
okay. It's a bandwidth. Okay, I
it
can take
could be.
over
Yes.
a bit more, or anyone else who'd like to read, if you don't want to sit there and you'd like to read. Atmospheric control. The
And
foundation.
also a comment, Mark.
Yes, please.
Oh, I can see it. I can actually see it now. Okay, so my network is stabilized. Once we have the full systems, that won't happen to me anymore.
I was
I'll
just
be
thinking
very
the
happy.
same thing, Gail.
Yeah,
I bet you can't wait to get a network in a way, especially
absolutely.
any other places too, where this goes in and out. But we're unplugging from the wall and from the internet, more or less.
Yeah. So even a solar flare won't affect. So we have the atmospheric control. The foundation claims the network can be used to neutralize viruses or create rain that carries essential amino acids for agriculture. And that is amazing. That really is. So neutralizing, and also a point, our bodies over millennia have adapted to viruses. Our bodies are the way they are because of all of the things that our bodies had to deal with
That's
and
right.
integrate with. So we have arms and legs and all kinds of things. We have trillions of viruses that we've learned to adapt to. So they are not necessarily a negative thing, but it's wonderful to know that we can neutralize them so we receive the energy and not as something detrimental. All right, now we come to financial and governance role. This is very, very important for our planet. Backbone of the Keshe coin. The ONN provides a secure, transparent network required to operate the Keshe coin. And I want to point out that Keshe coin has nothing to do with our Wall Street and so on. It's backed by real value. It is not a Bitcoin, which people play with, and some people lose everything and some people gain. Not at all. It's backed by real value. And yes, he's explaining it down below. And the Enlightenment and Peace game, which we are looking at right now, and we are playing that game to help our organizers to perfect it for release for everybody. So the Enlightenment and Peace game without central bank interference. So Keshe coin, we can earn it through that Enlightenment and Peace game. The investment and income. Individuals who purchase an ONN unit, originally priced around 2,000, 3,000 euros, serve as validators and earn a return of 2.4 Keshe coins per year, which is equivalent to 2,400 euro for maintaining the node. So the 1,000 euros is the value of one Keshe coin, keeping that in mind. Then we have ethical safeguards. The foundation monitors the network to block any entities involved in arms dealing, bribery, or drug trafficking. So it'll be a kind of a pure network without manipulation by those who would like to steal and deal. End of politics. By ensuring every citizen has access to wealth, food, and energy through the network, the foundation believes traditional politics and national borders will become irrelevant. We won't have to worry about politicians deciding to have a few extra houses or cars because the ethos for any kind of leadership will be think good, speak good, and do and act good. You will not actually be able to access networks if you have an intention of the wrongdoing. That I think is amazing. Now we have deployment timeline. The foundation planned to dispatch the first test batch of 25 units by late 2025, with a goal to have 1,000 units operational to secure the system against hacking before reaching the full 10,000 nodes by 2027. Several hundred units have also been gifted to universities and third world nations to ensure global coverage. As we know, some of the third world nations do not have the infrastructure in place. So this will help, absolutely help, bring them online with the rest of the world. And I guess that's the end of the
Well, thank you, Gail.
ONN.
Anyone want to
And
make
thank you, everybody, for listening. And does anybody have anything to say about it? If not, we can go back to Mark.
It's all being built for you, and we're supporting it and expanding it. These are gifts to
My
humanity.
internet just went unstable.
Okay. But you can see they were predicted to come out by late 25, but as Mr. Keshe said, in a way, it's good that they didn't come out because now they have to add a AI firewall into the network. And if they had released them, the AI could have gotten very intrusive, apparently. So they're going to do some sort of AI corralling in a way, or firewall, as they say. I'm always funny with these products. I don't know who's building them or what, but hopefully they work well. Thank you, Gail. That was, anyone else want to add anything? And since Mr. Keshe had mentioned the coin, Gail was reading about this, the coin, maybe it's now time. We've all seen the video, but for those who will see it in the future, let's see if we can just take a quick look at the Keshe coin. And we are the Keshe Foundation, just to get a bit of a deeper understanding of how this is put together. Thank you, Gail. Appreciate it. Anyone? Any other comments? Okay. Let's hear about the Keshe coin. Let's make sure we're sharing this one properly. Yes. Okay. So here's our Keshe coin. Let me turn it down. It does come in a little bit loud.
Hello. We are the Keshe Foundation. Our mission is to bring peace on Earth and join humanity with the universal community. We wish and work to bring man as equal to all beings in the universe. By teaching plasma science and technology equally to everyone, no one is left out and no one is abused due to lack of knowledge. By donating to us, you can help achieve this goal. keshefoundation.org/donate.
Okay, so that gives a little bit about the ethos and the functionality of the Keshe Foundation. Perhaps we'll go to Ed's question, which had to do with this coin as well. And as Gail noted, it's not a formal cryptocurrency. This is a coin within the Keshe Foundation at this point in time, but it's backed by gold, as I understand it, and gold mined from the universe, and they mine it as they need it. This is the only crypto or coin that is backed by gold. So, and it's mined out of the resources of the universe in a way. So let's hear Ed's question, which has to do with this coin and how the students will actually bring it. This is some of the harvest, some of the first harvest. It's a fairly meager harvest, but it's a start. No, I think this is just a sample of what the larger products were. I don't know if anyone looked on Alibaba or WeChat for this, but let's go to Ed's question about how is this coin going to sort of be stabilized. And Mr. Keshe will go on for a few minutes. I know we're going to do the Dome of Peace next. Alex, you're ready to proceed? I guess we won't cover some of the other things we had planned. The time just went, but no problem. We have
Ready.
all the existence in the universe. Let's go through Ed's question if we can. I guess we'll have to put the Pope, the question on the religions and the giving of the priests and so on the shelf for, at the moment.
Try to get your microphone open there. Let me see. We had a couple of questions about the Keshe coin from Ed, who says, the Keshe coin is valued as 1,000 euros. I don't quite understand how the value fluctuation or inflation can be eradicated if there's a tie to a national currency. Or is it that the national currency it is tied to will become more stable as a consequence?
This is a very touchy situation. We chose originally the euro because if you look at the Chinese yen, it's just one nation. If you look at the dollar, it's just one nation. Euro is around 20 nations currency. And it gives us the base for the valuation. But very soon, maybe next year, 2 years, we change the backing of the or balance of parallel of the euro to another commodity, which is values the same. And this is well thought. It's just the opportunity has to come up. You'll find out the Keshe Foundation coins, especially Keshe Foundation coins, we are giving 1,000 coin to every person. The first batch, we are not going to governments. We are not going to institutions. We directly give Keshe coins to students at universities around the world. These are the generation who understand it can work. So in next few weeks, when we start releasing the Keshe coins, if you're a student in university, get your university to get in touch. Every single one of you receives 1,000 coin. We need to back up. There is a lot of servers and things need to be purchased and put up. It's not just the coin with the ONNs which are coming out. ONNs, I was told, are ready to go in the next few days, or a couple of days, or a couple of weeks. Once they've done their test behind the back, but then what we do, students around the world, universities, get a standard level to spend money on their own. These are the young generation that are vibrant, they understand what can be implemented, they can take it across the world they live. You are a student in university from undergraduate to postgraduate to PhDs, you're a professor in the university, you work in the university, you are part of the education system of a university, you have a priority to receive Keshe coins and start spending it. You're limited to 30 coins a year. You cannot cash more than we give it to you. Every year we release the next cycle, but 1,000 is allocated. We control it that you don't go out and suddenly spend everything. And it's good for you. We're protecting you. And then you understand that how a university chap in Africa has money to live. Doesn't need to move, doesn't need to cross the waters to die in the oceans. Just because it's greener on the other side. And I estimate something like 1 billion coins will be distributed in the next 12 months, first to students and universities. They bring the technology across the world. They force the government because they become a force on their own. They pay to university fees, university can spend it, they pay in their domes, they pay for the food, they push the economy to accept it because it's their currency. and has no government to restrict it. A man in the university in Africa will receive the same money to spend as a girl in New York, London, or Washington, or in Paris. The one in the South, you better get to know more because he's got more money. He doesn't spend that much. It costs $1,000 a year to be a student in South Africa. Because $50,000 a year you have to borrow to live the rest of it. You better get yourself some partners in Sub-Sahara universities. But we already told them, be careful, don't be too generous, because what you save now becomes your future. And now you understand the next step of our plan. Once the woman releases this month, the Keshe Foundation coins will be distributed only at the university level to the universities, allowed to, and they become their investment. And then we go to newly born mothers and children. We don't disturb the other end. Students, newborn children, that they are brought up in the right way, and then we come up the ladder, see where we can, education in the schools. Every child in the school gets money in the States. I suffered with this a lot in Gambia. I suffered a lot with this in Gambia, and I made sure it won't happen. The headmaster used to come outside the hotel which I owned in Africa and say, Mr. Keshe, £12.50 was, if you pay me, I can take a student in. The parent used to come with a list of the students, their parents. Can you take 100? I said, give me 500 students. And we used to pay £12.50 for a child to be educated. Now it doesn't need. He has 30,000 with him. He's a value asset. Doesn't need to sleep hungry. Now you know. I've been through it, I know it, and I found the solution to it, and it's the solution. The pensioner, we look at it later on. The governments are looking at the pensions. The one working, they have an income. Students, newly born, and the schools get a priority in the distribution. But it has to be, you have to get the support of the government. I already asked the Iranian government to support us in the list of the university students. And we'll spread. We'll go very fast because they bomb us in our physics labs. We eliminate them and we annihilate them through education to give more to be educated at the high level. Then it goes Philippines. Then it sits South Africa. Sits students in universities in African nations, South America. Northern Europe, most of the students get grants, they don't need it. I watched thousands of them yesterday bring a city center to a standstill, wanting more money because they've been boycotted. They're the future of the nation. And we sit and watch and we change. Those who are from some poor nations will directly interact in the next few months to make sure it's not a fiddle. There's a lot of fraud goes on, students who don't exist. We set up a system that monitors everything. University students are vibrant and they take the coin across the world in no time because they live off it. They need it. They get the shopkeeper to accept it. And if you go on the Keshe Foundation coin, you have individuals, you have companies and governments. They all have to register because they all receive their benefits. It's well thought. It will be executed.
Mr. Keshe, we had a question about regarding what Trump has done against Iran and that the USA would not benefit from Keshe technology. So are USA citizens allowed to purchase or interact with the Keshe coin?
Of course. The only nation we will not allow to interact with Keshe coin is the State of Israel and Belgium. Any other citizens can, and people who carry two passports, one from the other one, will find out we know how to annihilate it or make life hell for them. Don't cheat with us because we know how to handle it. Two states will not be. All the Palestinian students across the world will receive the cash coins immediately. All the Iranian students outside Iran who suffered, they receive coins immediately. All the students from Africa. We don't separate, but we monitor. We are not building another state, government controlled state. We just monitor that the things go the right way. And it just has to be. We've been very open about this. It's not something we hide. State of Israel, under no circumstances will allow a single cent to follow in, to be brought in to anywhere to touch, because they use the education to kill. Universities is a killing university. And same with the state of Belgium. All the research centers is where they kill the others to get access to technologies. I've been the victim, so I'm not talking because we don't know. And the rest of the world, education is slowly, step by step. We release funds. We announce which countries, which students will become eligible for. The eligibility comes in our system. It's not that they are not eligible. It's what we can back up that it works correctly. That's the only pitfall. This and the problem at the moment is we're facing in past week is these AI hackers that we now knows we have to add the AI firewall to it before we send them out now, and that's another $500 cost, $530, $40. Each one will cost us extra to put a full good quality firewall on it. And it's the first time AI firewalls is available. And I said we are lucky if we would have sent the one on ones 2 or 3 months ago, we wouldn't have had this and they would have hacked everything. Now, even as one of the initial ones, at least we have some protection. We have two choices between 200 and something or 5. I said, go for a 500, let's see what we can. We have to protect the units.
Okay, so what a beautiful gift for university students that most of them are not aware that this is coming in. It's already in the pipeline and they'll be receiving it probably slowly at first, but it will pick up. And as students are energetic and vibrant, they'll be talking amongst themselves and demanding their university and others adopt this sort of structure. It may take time, but what a beautiful gift, because how difficult it is to try to go to school, to try to work at night, earn a little bit of money, especially if you're from another country and you're there. So this will be a great gift and will help the whole learning process and expand the One Nation network, the Keshe coin, and so on. Okay, rather than go through the whole Dome of Peace, which happens every day, I'm just going to bring up the invitation that you can start playing with your energy dimension anytime, but collectively we meet on the soul level or the central energy level at 9 p.m. every day, Central European Time or CET, depending on the season, for the elevation of the souls of all leaders and the soul of the totality of the Keshe Foundation, creating peace in everything that exists. You can spend 1 nanosecond, 1 minute, whatever you'd like, adjust the time, ask your soul to remind you, and then extend this process throughout the day in a way, pulsing the world leaders and the others to the soul of the world leaders to become elevated just by giving fields if they receive them. But it's we're just on the giving end and trying to understand how we can work more effectively on the energy dimension. As he says, working in the matter state takes a lot of energy, takes a lot of work. Working in the plasma state doesn't take a lot of energy and doesn't take a lot of work. So you're all invited to participate. You don't need a quiet room or a dark room, or you can be doing everything because what you normally do, because your physicality is not involved. You just sort of enter that other dimension, create a beautiful bouquet of fields, spectrum of fields with the others, and give and learn how this process works. So you're all invited. The beauty, as I often have said about this process, is nobody fails this test. So let's go to the star of the show now, unless somebody has a comment. Alex, I think you're more than ready, and I know we went a little over, but if you're ready to begin, and of course, anyone can finish this workshop. You'll find the transcripts in Telegram and so on. But if you're ready to go, Alex, please take it away. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mark. Thanks for bringing the gang forward here. And we have a lot to discuss. But before we get into that, let's do some business.
Disclaimer: the information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GAN's processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
Well done, everybody. Thank you very much for being here. And this is part of the Keshe American Knowledge Team meeting in 2026. And we, as usual, are bringing up the support following the revelations of Thursday's Knowledge Seekers Workshop, which we've been doing for over a decade, and then the powerful Brazilian meeting on Friday. And here we are in North America, a handful of us who are actually trying to keep up with everything else that's going on. And, you know, it's not the quantity, it's the quality. And we have to remember that's one of the things that's important. And then, of course, when you have this tremendous discrepancy in quantity, then it brings forward a force, a counterbalancing force that is actually quite large. And we all know the story of David and Goliath. It was a good story, but we have new stories. This is the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute Teachings on Plasma Science. We are discussing the basic matter tech. The subject is racism. My name is Alexander. I am from Canada. It is May the 31st of 2026. This is part of the Keshe Foundation North America Plasma Education Series. So as we continue, and we are trying to make sure that the new knowledge seekers are welcome and can catch up much faster than what we've been progressing. But as advanced knowledge seekers, we have to keep advancing. We can't stop and wait, because the sun keeps coming up, the earth keeps rotating, and so do all the galaxies. And our understanding of this is quite limited. And that's one of the reasons we're going to be talking about racism today, because we're trying to break on through this mythology. And as the Doors have articulated in their song, where, this day destroys the night, then the night divides the day. We tried to run, we tried to hide, So we want to break on through to the other side. What other side are we talking about? And as we review, this becomes a real conundrum, because when armies go to war, we don't understand why they are frequently targeting libraries. And these libraries are full of things that are fiction, and they don't have any skeptics, but the nonfiction books seem to have many skeptics. And so this is kind of strange, isn't it? And of course, another strange thing is mythology. Like, what is mythology? Because mythology is really a collection of traditional stories, fables, and legends belonging to a specific culture. It typically features gods and demigods and other supernatural heroes, serving to explain the origins of the world, natural phenomena, and the foundations of societal customs and beliefs. And of course, they're not really based on science, are they? They're just mythological. And yet, when we look through our history, we see the form, and that form helps us to understand how we can break on through, because the form follows function, and that function is either fact or fiction, and you get to decide, you see. But science has intervened, and it causes us to understand the advanced science through verification and validation through man-made means. And then this, of course, is accelerated by legal methods and, of course, debating methods. And so we come to the conclusion that we know nothing, because the unexamined life is not worth living. And this was articulated at the trials of Socrates. So we continue to not ask that question. And the question really we should ask is, when should we ask that question? Should we ask it when we are children? Should we ask it when we are students? Maybe we should ask it when we get our degrees, like a master's or PhD. Or maybe we should ask it when we begin our journey in life, or when we get married, or when we become parents, or when we retire. Is this sounding ridiculous? Well, when do we ask these questions? The day before we die? Or do we ask these questions the day after we die? When is the appropriate time to ask that question? And yet, all around, when it rains, we see how the raindrops come. They always hit that bullseye, and from there, a wave goes out. And of course, the waves go up, and then also the waves go down, because that magnetical strength of the raindrop acts as a beacon and is imparted through its gravitational inherent picocore. And from there, we see this form. That form follows that function, and it's like a tuning. You see that with tuning forks, they do the same thing as the raindrops. Well, isn't that interesting? Because what we're talking about is frequency. So do we understand what frequency means? When we're talking about the transmission highway, which is the carbon-12 highway, sure, we see frequency. We understand that. We turn on your radio station, you tune into your proper frequency to get the radio station that you want, to hear the music that you want. But when we get into the transition highway, that operates on a different functionality, and we not only have the carbon-12, but we have the carbon-14 and the carbon-10, and we see that something is missing. The total carbon comes out to 24. All of a sudden, it's doubled. Then we go to the transmutation highway, which is even faster. We have the carbon-16 and the carbon-8, but it too is carbon-24. So what does that mean? We're missing 12 carbon on the transmission highway, the lowest energy state. Where is it? Well, you don't want to ask that question, do you? Because it exposes that margin of error where we are still burning coal as one of our optimum sources of energy. And so we become businessmen and we become profitable, and we try and determine that profitability by determining the margin between profit and loss. But if we analyze it and we'll see what it means, there are those, instead of increasing productivity, they like to decrease. So if we look at an example where a decrease of $20 is manifest, where A had $40, but now take 20 away, he still has 20, but B had 20, and if he loses 20, well, now he has 0. The difference was $20, and the difference now is still $20. But something has changed. A is now wealthy, and B is broke. And there is where the narrative takes hold. So as we are searching for that X factor, we're trying to improve our target practice. Just like that raindrop that always hits the bullseye, we have to modulate our aim. And that X in the center marks that spot that we're looking for. And of course, what we're looking for is that gold. This is part of the matter tech nuggets that we're all seeking, because that's where it gives us the wealth. And it's the wealthy that control the narrative. So, this is very desirable. And, just a moment here. We need to learn how to spell, don't we? And just give me 1 second here so that we can nip this in the bud. We're getting there. There we go. Awesome. Isn't science wonderful? Okay, so moving on, we had to understand contraction, because contraction is a specific characteristic. Muscles can tighten, and from that tightened position, muscles can relax. The same with fists. You can clench your hand, and you can open your clenched hand. But fists cannot not open. You cannot not do something. Not in the universe does not work. So this brings in one factor. And a second factor is our understanding of lords and gods, as we discussed in the mythologies. Because we see there are lords in plural and gods in plural. So we see that the gods themselves have chariots, and they have many names, such as Aphrodite and Zeus. So this is another question that we have. And then, of course, they tell us the Lord is my shepherd. But, of course, the shepherd protects the sheep from the wolves until, of course, they're plump and ready for market and, of course, ready for slaughter. And then they become the chosen ones, don't they? And so this is our convention, the 10 Commandments that tell us where I am the Lord, your God. Seems like those two words are synonyms. And then, of course, we have a plethora of commandments that tell us how not to do things. Not only is that restrictive, but it doesn't really help the matter, because all you know is what not to do, and you don't know what to do. And, you just assume that you do the opposite. And you wonder, is that meant for everybody? Is that meant for the sheep, or is it meant for the shepherd, or for both? But of course, as we look at the science and they tell us about this angular density, where we are the fallen angels. So falling implies a weakness, faults, failings, and weaknesses. And that's how we fall and increase our density, increase the pressure, and increase the gravity. So that gravity increases our dependence on the Earth space feeding. But there's a counterbalancing of an internal pressure, and we all know about the Gauss fields. So the angular momentum is always conserved. Well, where is that duality coming from? So we see duality as duals. It's a confrontation where we have energy that manifests as a friction. fists manifest into fighting, and the division of society is created through racism. And then this confrontation, when two forces come together, manifests in inertia density. And of course, when we're doing the killing, we have to be very polite. So, gentlemen, shake hands and come out fighting. But all sarcasm aside, the energy binding that we derive from these self-serving machinations are important, because that's our dimension point. We all have to be self-serving. We all need to take care of me, myself, and I, because if you don't, no one else will. But then we have the added perspective where many are doing it at the expense of others. Why should I make something when I can steal it from somebody else? And so that becomes quite counterproductive, isn't it? And it really affects that margin that we're all dependent on of profitability. So why should I make an extra $20 when I can steal it from you? And even if I have to sacrifice my $20 so that you lose your $20, and then I become wealthy and you become broke. And this is how the game of vitality is being played. And of course, it drains us. It drains the one who is robbing, and it drains the one who is being robbed. And so both become a loose leaker, although it seems that the thief is profiting. But the thief is profiting from the lowest common denominator. So what we need to do is move from the regular to the super vitality enhancement to enhance our emotional and physical strength with the universal body enhancement spaceship units. So this takes us to a different kind of science, a plasma science, where things are not just doubled up or added to and subtracted from, but increases by orders of magnitude. And you say, well, by orders of magnitude, we can go bigger, but we can also go orders of magnitude smaller. But with the smaller and the bigger change increases the gradient. And when we increase the gradient, then we increase the energy. Well, isn't that interesting? So we make the relationship between the macro and the micro so much more powerful. And it causes us to think outside of that box. And so we talked about Coventry, which is a historic cathedral city in the West Midlands region of central England. And to send someone to Coventry means to deliberately ostracize, ignore, or refuse to speak to them as a punishment. Churches do this, religions do this. You will be excommunicated. And where will you be excommunicated when, we are all part of this universe? So you'll have to be excommunicated outside of this universe, I guess, so wherever that is. And so this becomes our dilemma. We're not only put in a mental box or a social box or a prison box, but we're also confined to a racism box. And we all know that energy comes from principal matter. And it starts with the PM ticks, which are magnetical, and they come as an energy pack, and they are converging as antimatter, dark matter, and matter gen, and then converted into a plasma gen. It isn't until we interact via inertia with the maggrav reality of our Earth space, which is highly gravitational, and then we become into this physical matter. And we've seen that happen in Beijing, where the 2025 gold rush began, where we produced gold out of thin air. And in 2026, the silver rush is also taking place. But now there's a rush of rushes coming all over the place, because we have gone beyond that nanomonatomic state into that picoatomic state, where that pico beacon with its gravitationally inherent field strength facilitates an emission array from that nebulous blurry point in the nano gap. And then question, well, is it the point or the gap that's more important? So we try and analyze this and teach this through the books of Marantabakoli Keshe, such as book number 1, The Universal Order of the Creation of Matter, where we talk about the matter, the antimatter, and the dark matter. But then, of course, there's book number 2, The Structure of the Light, which connects 2 different matters that were structured. And then there's book number 3, The Origin of the Universe, where one splits into 2. And here you have this David and Goliath type relationship again, where you have the sister universe, which is massive. And then you have man's universes, which is very tiny. And speaking of tiny, it's more than tiny, is our Earth space, just that little speck in the universe. And then on that speck, we have our little domicile, our little tiny perfect home or condominium. So when we talk about racism, we have to understand that that's a belief, a prejudice, or a discrimination directed against someone of a different race, usually based on the notion that one's own race is superior. So it is not just over hatred or slurs, but also deeply embedded in systemic biases that limit access to opportunities, employment, and healthcare, for instance. Okay. So fortunately for us, we were able to capture a field that had a physical, rock solid presence. We called it Earth. And that was our reality bullseye dimension. So we arrived here, and we arrived here through a racism where we picked our sentimental pie in the sky and said, well, this is not me, meaning Mars, and this is not me, meaning Venus, but this is me where I have arrived, and this is Earth. And then when someone tells you that you get excommunicated, then you say, well, who has that authority? And so the dilemma continues. So when we talk about the racism, okay, well, the obvious racism is based on skin color. So we've talked about that at length. And everybody understands that, that skin is color is just on the surface. Underneath, we're all part of the same civilizations. But the racism, it comes about through civilizations, and we see that it goes through many, many millennia, which involves either mythological civilizations or even modern civilizations. So that racism continues. And so we see that humanity's civilization has an inherent beacon strength, that X factor of dependency on the Earth space. And the basic 7 civilizations that science has noted all have the same story of the Great Flood. All have the same story. Is it fact or is it fiction? But we have this humanity racism, which is a lack of compassion for humanity. That is the key. That is the foundation to that racism. So we extend that racism through nationalities. And of course, we seek champions, idols who represent us, idols who fight for us, such as gladiators or knights or sports stars. And of course, this is the year of the World Cup. And if we look at the history of the World Cup, it promotes racism through subdivisions. Originally, the World Cup was a challenge between the South American soccer teams and the European soccer teams. And then it expanded into continents. And as more teams joined, we had to subdivide that into continental zones. And of course, the basis of the racism is with the countries. And then within the countries, you have your nationalities. And within those nationalities, you have your tribes. And so here we are in 2026, and we're still promoting racism, it's not bringing together the Universal Council that we keep talking about. What is that Universal Council? Well, for 432 weeks, Rick Kremen and the Universal Council have been bringing forward the one planet, one nation, one race for justice and world peace. And we continue because we're promoting the plasma rule, the universal rule, where the higher strength feeds the weaker strength. Unlike the David and Goliath thing, where the higher strength beats the weaker strength, but because the weaker strength has a higher inherent strength, can often beat the higher strength also. So that becomes the transaction zone, the conflict point, but it's also the binding zone because it's binding these two forces together. And anytime you do that, you're creating this inertia density manifestation. So we have to understand that there's a sequence in how we do this. So the attraction is a gravitational force, and that's part of the feedback. The repulsion is a magnetical force, and that's part of the feeding. And you, as the last man standing, have choices. You can turn on or turn off that feeding, or you can increase or decrease the strength, enhance or diminish your positioning. And so the stronger feeds the weaker. And that transaction zone then can be a solo effort. Excuse me, the solo effort requires singularity, but a duality requires a partnership. And a partnership requires reciprocity. There has to be a balance of incentives. If there is no balance, then it's master-slave, isn't it? So our racism extends into what we call organic versus inorganic. Humanity is carbon-based. Inorganic is silicon-based. The earth is silicon-based. So we have a competition between humanity and earth space. And yet earth is our domicile. Remember, we chose it. We are the ones who had that sentimental viewpoint, and we wanted to get there, and we made that decision. But then we have this folding deviation that we talk about because these amino acids fold over and create protein. And so these amino acid star formations are similar with the solar system and with the human body. The key difference, of course, is the calcium, which is highly gravitational. And so that becomes one of the key differences. But otherwise, the building blocks are the same. And so the earth space is inorganic, the human body is organic. The solar system is plasmatic. So density, as we progress, is manifest by gravity because gravity seeks density. And the density that we're familiar with operates within the Coulomb barrier, which is within the Earth space. And a maggrav is constantly in balance, just like a bagel. But just like a bagel, there's a hole in the center. And so there's two ways to create this. One is through concentric circles, and the other is through a spiral formation. And as you can see, the focus on all three is that hole in the center. So which is more important, the hole or the bagel? Well, these two forces that are coming together are actually seeking that hole, aren't they? So this is what we did. We chose our planet and we saw the planet. And we wonder, was that just a dream? How did we get here? Well, just like the PM ticks, we come together and we create the X, Y, and Z axis, which is part and parcel of the inertia manifestation, regardless of time and distance. And so we have overlapping fields of concentric circles, and a spiral formation. And it's hard to dramatize properly through a two-dimensional drawing. And so there's another racism that happens, and this is our upness versus our downness. And, you know, some are more equal than others, aren't they? But as it relates to susceptibility, that upness is what we see. We see that digitally, but the blur film that our mind produces is analogous, and that is the downness. And we often wonder, well, is it dangerous to go down there? But when we talk about downness, we have to note that wherever you are on this planet, you have boots on the ground. And wherever you are on this planet, the sun is up. So we're not upside down, and we're not down under, and we're not on the ceiling. So our reference is conditional. And that reference is between this transmission state where we have this funnel as a tunnel, where we bring together the feeding of the soul of the man and the feedback environment. And there we establish the emotion of presence, the feeding of the soul of intention. So we have a duality there, don't we? So that racism of upness and downness extends to our RNA versus our DNA. So the RNA is part of the feeding, but the mRNA is part of the feedback. So what is that DNA? That DNA is that matter-gen conversion, that reflection state between the two. And these are activated under the peace dome shielding. So this peace dome that we're creating is like a wave field flow. And as we decide what is me and what is not me, it shows a direction of flow and a strength of flow. So of course, when that drop hits, that raindrop hits that bullseye, the wave goes out. And because of the intensity of the raindrop, it creates these multiple waves. And of course, the waves are less and less as they go away from the original bullseye. But the waves themselves actually get bigger. So the farther away they go from the bullseye, the bigger they are. And so we see this wave field flow diverging from that center point. And so this is how the plasma energy is manifest in motion. But these waves are in duality because there's not only the in the bullseye, but there's the out with the outer wave. And we see these concentric circles. But there's an upness and a downness. And as the upness goes out in both directions, the downness also goes out in both directions. So the in and the out is in both, up and down. So we have those two dimensions. And then we look at the matter tech. So that matter tech is these waves in two dimensions. And then we will look at the pictures. That observation is the third dimension. And that becomes our physical matter state because we can touch it and we can see it. See the waves, look at the waves. But there's an energy that we can't see and we can't touch it. That is the plasmatic. But these are all part of the matter state. We're discussing matter tech. And matter tech is feedback. And man is feedback dominant. That's what we're seeing. We're seeing the waves, and we're not seeing the force that caused the waves, although we know that it was a raindrop that hit the bullseye. Well, this is how it was raining in Beijing with the rotating balls of the star formation, and they weren't in singularity, but each point of the star formation was in duality. And it was raining all over, so he put out these spoons to capture all of these rainfalls, and as you can see, it was extremely effective. And then when we look at these star formations, what we don't see is that dynamic blur fill in the middle. It's like a bagel. There's a hole in the bagel, there's a hole in the middle, and there's nothing there. And without that nothingness, there is no bagel. That's what constitutes a bagel. So that blur fill ended up being gold. And so we see these three phases: the original plate, the intermediate plate where the gold is now precipitating, and then the final plate where we see that gold. We see that gold rush. And you say, you know, where does that amino acid come from? It comes from the thin air. But since amino acids are essentially fatty acids, it comes from the fat air. Well, where does the gold air come from? It comes from the gold air. So this is all part of the transmission on this Earth space. So whatever is being transmitted has to have a common denominator. So just like the bagel, it has a hole in the middle. And the pathway for this transmission is either over the bagels, under the bagels, or through the bagels. And we have choices to choose on how we do that. That's in the horizontal mode. But in the vertical mode, we have these stacker bagels. And oh, yes, 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 we know which way is up, don't we? And then, of course, if up is magnetical, then the gravitational is down. And that's why we have our boots on the ground. So our soul is up in the air, and that's cup number one. Cup number two is our emotion. Cup number three is our physicality. Cup number five is our earth space. And cup number four is the inertia field between us and our domicile. That's why we had that sentimental wish to come here, because we know where we're not, and we know what we are, and we know what we want. So that's how we got to choose. We discriminated. And so when we look at the cellular metabolism, metabolism means casting out. Well, that casting out is a repulsion. It's magnetical. And then, of course, what is digested comes in. That is the gravitational bullseye at that picocore. And we have that nucleus, which is allowing us to have that concentric circle, as we see, not only with the cellular structure, but with the vagal structure. So the casting out has to come out somehow, and it comes out through that spiral formation. And then there's that calcium inherent X factor at the center of the cells. That is the neutron seed that causes that internal pressure to counterbalance the external pressure. And so we see the racism that is prevalent in a maggrav, the magnetical gravitational racism, because that facilitates the plasma margin modulation. So we are always choosing that X factor. So there's an out-tensity interaction, and there's a gravitational neutron interaction. And then there's a counterbalancing in and out, not only to maintain the structure, but to interact with other structures, because you cannot just exist as a solo. you have to interact with the environment if you're going to be a maggraph. And that is the fundamental plasma matter dilemma. We have our atomic and nano and GAN states, and those are physical, but then we all have that substructure of the plasma state. And that is how we can balance things off. Each side of the equation is magnetical-gravitational relationship. And then the combination is a balance. And that positive balance is gravitational. And the ability to transcend is through the maggrav energy transfer states. So we could stay on each state, or we can go from state to state, and we can go up and we can go down. And so how does that racism apply to our soul? Well, we took the GANs of soul by making the cup of life for the cup of emotion. That was one product. And we took the GANs of another cup of emotion, and we put the two together, and we got the GANs of the cup of emotion. Likewise, we did the same thing with the cup of physicality, and we took the GANs of another cup of physicality, and we created the GANs of the cup of physicality. And so we took the two dual GANSs and put together the cup of man. And that became the gravitational picocore, that X factor that allowed us to be that gravitational entity traveling in a magnetical field. And of course, we had to be connected to the universe. So that introduced another problem. Was it symmetry or is it a reflection? Well, we had the copper GANs, which is physical, and the zinc GANs, which is emotional, and the carbon, which connected everything. But then we had that X factor of love. Now that X factor of love connects us to the cup of the universe. But we also have an X factor of love that we know in our physicality, which is highly gravitational. So that is the racism of our soul. And so in that process, if we have a soul, and we are part of the horizontal group, and the plants are part of the vertical group, then we have another racism that's erupting. First of all, we eat the vertical people. But we also walk vertically, so, in many ways, we are also vertical people. But then we have an affinity for the horizontal people, and, oh no, we eat the horizontal people, like cows and sheep. So that racism means that we may be the horizontal people who sometimes are horizontal and sometimes are vertical, but our racism is, well, we are above the plants, and of course we are above the other horizontal animals, and we discriminate. Very racist. It's the basis of our digestion, where we're converting that food to GANs. And we have to realize that the whole purpose of eating is energy supplementation. We want to absorb that nutrition essence, that gravitational attraction of energy, and then release the waste essence, the metabolism, through the magnetical repulsion of energy. And so we become highly racist in our actions. Even bagels are racist. Look at, they're all roundish and they're all with a hole, but look at the different races that we have. So, which one do you like and which one you don't like? So you get to choose, don't you? But all the bagels are like racist atomic bagels. Atomic means uncut, but this bagel is cut. We cut the hole right out of it. And it still maintains this balance of inside and outside. So that whole is everlasting. And if it maintains its bagel structure, then the magnetical is outside as well. So there's an outside, there's an inside. So we see that the gravitational is in between. And we say the gravitational is down. Down from what? Down from the magnetical. Which magnetical? The inside magnetical or the outside of magnetical? So when we look at our Earth space bagel, we see that in order to maintain its gravitational certainty, it has to have that hole in the middle. And they say, as above, so below, on earth as it is in heaven. So the implication is that heaven is up and the earth is below. And of course, earth is the weaker field, and we are the weaker ones because we are the fallen angels through faults, failings, and weaknesses. And of course, the heaven is the stronger field. But it's on earth as it is in heaven. So heaven is in and earth is out. On earth is out and heaven is in. So when we're trying to break on through, we're trying to be pioneering angels. We are arrived angels, not fallen angels. We follow the path. And here's the map. There you can enter at your own risk. And as we're pioneering America, we have to understand that what we see could either be a reflection or an illusion. And of course, God bless America, the eagle has landed. And it's built on love, isn't it? But love is a two-faced thing. Aphrodite, the ancient Greek goddess of love, beauty, and passion. But as above, so below. Aphrodite shows you that the carbon inertia highways are not just on face value, the double carbon 12, 24, the carbon 14 plus 10, 24, carbon 16 plus 8, 24, but there's a substructure. Me. And then that substructure also has a substructure. So here we go. When we look at the cosmic ray equilibrium, we see that the magnetical gravitational relationship is a maggrav. And it's not simple and straightforward. It's not in singularity. It's not even in duality, but it's multifaceted because it's multifunctional. And it creates this free plasma, this inherent X factor, which you need to connect the carbon, oxygen, hydrogen, nitrogen star formation, the amino acid, which is fundamental for the creation of life, interacting with another star formation. And that becomes your gravitational picocore. And they can squeeze together in that plasma state and fold over, and you establish another structure within the structure. And each of these X factors ride the transmission wave. So we see the beginning of the lamination, how these star formations come together, just like the phospholipids in our cellular structure. So what we see is that skin, that outer part, that thing we base our racism on by skin color. And we don't see that blur fill, that threshold in between the outside and the inside. But when you have a covalent bond, you need duality. So these core components are now stacked. And since the gravitational is on the outside on both, how do you connect the two? It has to be magnetical, isn't it? So to facilitate this laminar flow, you have to have a physical acceleration via the plasmatic superconductivity, where you can have the flow over, under, or through. And that flow is magnetical because magnetical is the giver. So our racism extends to animate versus inanimate. Oh, we need computers, we need advanced science to dominate our physicality. Modern technology, we are the scientists telling the idiots how to live. That is a quote. But you see, this inherent susceptibility and singularity creates this rain of gold, as we saw in Beijing. But there's an inherent susceptibility and duality. That's right. You cannot complete that gravitational input without an external input of that Gans field of humanity. We were that X factor. It wasn't until we touched it that we became that touch that turned the Gans to gold, as Midas did. So we have to understand that there are counterweight measures. And generally speaking, the physical state is measured with weight, and the atomic state is measured with mass. But that's the physical state, and it's highly gravitational. But the nuclear state is measured with Teslas, and the plasma state is measured with time, and that is highly magnetical. And this is where we get the balance. So it doesn't stand to reason that we should be MAGRAV racists and just be looking at the gravitational aspect of it. The plasma has a plasmatic manifestation through the difference, the gradient. Just like there's no two plasmas the same, there's no two bagels the same. But that dimension array comes together with the PM ticks in that transaction zone that we facilitate a physical manifestation, the coming together of the magnetical gravitational fields. And we have this gravitational certainty as this emission light array crosses that threshold and becomes highly gravitational. That oxygen is that non-visible X factor of our humanity. And it's plasmatic and it decays to GANs. And that GANs can decay from gas to liquid to solid. And it facilitates a physical anchorage on this planet. That gravitationally inherent oxygen, and it manifests an emission spectrum that is physical and visible, even though it is non-visible. So that certainty also leads to the need for supplementation, because that supplementation is due to consumption. Where we are racists, we have to slaughter animals and harvest foods to sustain ourselves. This is an acquired knowledge. It's a conditional teaching by ancient teachers. But there's an unconditional teaching by the Creator. And so we have this new awareness which allows us to cross that historical threshold between the cosmic feeding and the loosh harvesting. And so we end up with this inherent attributes of a gravitational confirmation, that gravitational center point, like that gravitational picocore, gives us this gravitational certainty. So that certainty means it's always a mutually assured construction. And the AI is us. It's the ancestral intelligence that comes from many stars beyond the nanomonatomic state, covering the full range from decay to radiation. And we are that technology. We are that inertia product. We are the image of our dimensional convergence point. So when they talk about the light bearers, there's talk about devils and demons, but also gods and angels. And of course, there are myths and skeptics who give us the outright dismissal of facts. But you see, the proof of one proves the other. And so we have this science racism, where the science fact is competing against science fiction. And we have these science stoppers who stop the advancement because of fear of being wrong. And they undermine the current narrative. And then, of course, there's the science theft through patents and intellectual property rights. There are international laws that govern this. And every country has signed into this, except one. But all countries participate in education racism. They only teach you what you want to know so that you can be a good boy. But the science is timeless, and the timelessness involves the man, the myth, and the legend. Become a legend in your own mind. It's up to you. There's the plasma science, the physical science, and the pseudoscience. And you can dabble in whatever you wish. And then try and contend with the libraries where books like Agartha, Gods with Amnesia, who talk about the subterranean worlds of the inner earth, where a legendary kingdom is said to be on its earth's inner surface, sometimes involving the king of the world or multiple kings who are said to rule and secretly influence events on the surface world. So this was popularized through Western occultism, science fiction, and Hollow Earth myths. But we see that energy portability, as we've done it, allows us to modulate energy through state transition, where we can elevate from the physical matter state to the energy state, has been done. We can manifest the inertia from the energy state to the physical state, has been done. The elevation involves expansion, and the physical manifestation involves contraction. So you cannot not do something. And this is what we've been trying to do for 644 knowledge seekers workshops in a row, trying to bring together the greater oneness, the understanding how we can suddenly transcend the limitations of nuclear science, which is holding the world back, preventing us from converting diamonds to gold or silver. But it's beyond the May 10th of 2025, where we have shown the world the pico core of truth. So accept it or not. It's up to you. But we are looking for champions. We're calling all gamers. Stop the self-service at the expense of others. Stop playing your war games. Understand that you can benefit with your self-serving in the service of others through the groups. Groups will need champions, and these champions will be playing the game of peace and enlightenment and bring peace and prosperity to everyone. And we can do this at one nation network at a time to bring that scientific rescue to open the blinds, hit that bullseye and modulate that X factor. And we can do this using the One Nation Network cards, one at a time. That time is now. the network has been activated. As we say with the 630th Knowledge Seeker Workshop, there are embedded inherent frequencies. So the soul and the soul of physicality requires a blur fill, but the soul and the soul of physicality always hits the bullseye. How do we bring these two together? Are we ready to break through? Well, we have to look at the space racism, where the science fact is competing against the science fiction. When we talk about our universal councils, there are earthbound and there are spacebound. Is that a competition? And when we talk about space, we have world leaders and world rulers. Is that a competition? And we have warmongers versus warmongers versus peacemongers. Is that a competition? We have to ask ourselves, how is it that the hand that kills may be the hand that caresses? Is that hand confused? Or is that a manifestation of compassion, racism? If humanity doesn't have compassion for humanity, then what the hell is it doing? Our mission is to bring peace on earth and join humanity with the universal community. We want to bring man as equals to all the beings in the universe by teaching the plasma science and technology equally to everyone, that no one is left out, no one is abused due to lack of knowledge. So help us achieve this goal, because, I mean, let's face it, you are part of this universe. All are part of the universe. That racism is a figment of your imagination. This is the Keshe Foundation, Spaceship Institute, teachings on plasma science, and we're welcoming all the beautiful plasma travelers of the carbon nations, learning about the new frequencies of the new organic plasma science. There's a world peace treaty that you can choose, sign unconditionally, and mean it sincerely. See, the matter tech dominates our seed core manifestation, but we have to reduce that margin between the war dome and the peace dome. Is the inertia of the present governed by dimensions of history, or is it time to learn the history of self in a universal context? The physical state has an unacknowledged marginal strength, and racism reinforces that unseen side of manifestations of the physical matter state and its inertia conditions. We need to reinforce the plasma science, enhance it daily via the peace dome in a practical exchange for peace on Earth. So welcome to the new golden outer space age. I hope you enjoyed this trip, and thank you for allowing me to present.
Well, thank you, Alex, again, for putting a beautiful presentation together. Let's see if anyone has a question, but the first question I had, we say we're not a religious, or we're a space-based organization, non-religious, non-racial, space-based organization. Does that mean the organization is located in space? Is that space between the ears? Or again, is that space in China or Austria? What is this space-based organization, if you'd like to share how you understand that?
Well, as usual, Mark, you answer your own question. So the space is in the plasma, and the plasma is in that space between your ears. Obviously, it is not a physical location, like you say, in China or other places.
But the new space city is appearing. Is that the space-based organization? Or did we come from energy and we've appeared in the matter state and we're going back, as we understand the creator is the universe and Mitra the dimension of physicality? So did we come from energy? Is that why he's saying we're a space-based organization?
Well,
that's where most of our friends live.
all of our physicality, all of our physicality is space-based. However, we have limitations, and these limitations are imposed because of this physicality. See, because the physicality allows a delay in consequences, and we sometimes think there are no consequences as such, and so there are people who abuse that, and so when science stops us from advancing, then they're doing that through their own fear. So their fear actually affects us, which is actually out of jurisdiction. Their fear has no jurisdiction over us. And the only way that they can be successful is if we allow it. So the space city that you're referring to is a physical manifestation of all the space intentions and space energies. And they are in lockstep with the creator, because the creator has created everything. And as such, everything has been created and it is good. So we cannot be racist and saying, well, this is good and this is bad. And then everything that we do to reinforce that racism is to decide what is good or what is bad from our own physical point of view. And that unseen side is neglected. But that is the side that is a substructure for our physical matter state. So the space city is going to be a proper manifestation of the true intention, because that intention is inherent in all of us. Back to you, Mark.
Yes, it does seem like it's going to be a model to be copied or to be replicated. We often hear we don't copy, it's not monkey see, monkey do. But if the creator's not making any patents, I guess it's open source. So these cities will hopefully start to appear in a neighborhood like yours. That may be coming in the future, as I think we'll see the virtual space city in the game of peace and enlightenment. Any thoughts from anyone? Feel free.
I look at space base as fields that are no restriction space. So we're a space-based technology company, organization. There's no, we just put the limitation to our own understanding. So when we say space-based, it means no restriction. It's all fields. The limitation is based on our own understanding.
Thank you, Ike. Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Ike. And please check your telegram. The space city is allowing us the opportunity to transcend these limitations. So these limitations are actually governed by a very, very small group, and it's all fear-based. And we naturally have a tendency to listen to that, because we are, from our school age, taught to listen to our teachers and not question them. But when the answer to our questions is, I don't know, but it's not put that way. It says, we don't know. Well, no, we do know. It's the teacher doesn't know, and the teacher refuses to admit that they don't know. So this is, if we, everything that we know is dependent on what the teacher teaches us, then what's the point of going to school and what's the point of having research and education? And as jokingly, many of them say, well, with the research, we're paid to research, we're not paid to find it. So we're paid to research the answers, we're not paid to find the answers. But that's just plain dumb, because you cannot extricate yourself from the universe. You can't be excommunicated. You can't be sent to Coventry. You are part of the universe. Doesn't matter what you do. So where does this racism come into play? It is a physical made reality. It does not compute in the space, in the universal context. It doesn't compute because God created everything. So it would be like, well, I've created this and I accept that, and I created that, and I don't accept that. So now you two settle out and see which ones are going to settle the matter. Well, in a way, that is exactly what has happened, but it's only happened because we are confrontational. We are trained to do that, and because we have humanity that lacks compassion for other humanity. So, this is a conundrum. And we have to recognize that when humanity doesn't have compassion for humanity, that they will succumb to the same results. You cannot participate in the game and have consequences and not suffer the same consequences of that game. Cannot happen. You are either in the game and promoting it, or you're not. And if you're in that game, then you participate with the gains and losses of that game. So nobody has enough money to be able to be immune to the consequences of that game. And that's the game. It's a transgenerational game. This game of racism, where there are forces that are unseen in the background, and they're curtailing our progress. So to deny the existence of this is to literally deny our history, because we have many examples. And, one of the most obvious ones are the pyramids of Egypt. Just that alone is enough to cause pause and ask questions. It's time to come up with the answers. So the we don't know is you don't know, but we need to find out, and we need to come up with an answer. And we have. That is within our, shall we say, within our wheelhouse. Now the question is, how do we deliver this in a practical application? And we have to do it in exchange for peace on earth, because the plasma science crashes and burns in its physicality and its warmongering. So it's time to stop that and start doing the other. Back to you, Mark.
Okay, anyone else want to add anything? Thank you again, Alex. And the reason I say space between the ears, well, one of the reasons is because we do play a video that said the secret's in the brain and the spaceship is within the soul of the man. So you're walking around with a Twinity system to allow you to explore this space. And as I said earlier, what we see in the depths of the universe, we see in the depths of the soul of the man. But as I said, we're just scratching the surface of the soul of the man, or central energy as we understand it. And remember the other one where man exists and operates in the universe, and what? The universe exists and operates within the man. So is that space base? I always thought it was something out in the solar system or the galaxy or something space-based. But I'm sort of redefining my own understanding. Anyone else would like to ask a question? Or it seems like vitamins and hormones and nutrients are also going to be fed through this game, or through the cosmic ray technology, as he was saying. And I think they're adding in the fish into these greenhouses too, which is another test that the foundation is doing, feeding them without the typical meal or fish meal and so on, and see what's produced. But I'm sure it's been done, I'm sure already, we just haven't seen it. Anyone else want to raise a point, share an understanding? Okay, well, Alex thanks you all, and so do I. We appreciate your presence. The souls have brought you here for a bigger work, even if it's only to understand a deeper part of yourselves, which seems to be what a lot of this teaching is about. We haven't understood our own sort of Magrav structure, or how we're made in the image of the Creator, with a much, much closer connection than we've ever imagined. We're part of the whole structure.
Yes, and thanks to you and for leading us, and all the knowledge seekers here who have made this Keshe American Knowledge Team meeting so important. Thank you all for allowing me to continue to present, and stay tuned for some very exciting episodes coming.
Yeah, imagine telling your neighbors, where you going on vacation this year? Oh, I'm traveling to the space city. Oh, you booked a flight? No, I'm transmuting. What? We're flying plasma class now. And that may be on the card for sure. You want to spend a weekend in China? Perhaps that's a possibility. Or another one mentioned in Europe. Or we'll probably have some of these places. It'll be a beautiful place to visit, or even to stay and work and continue its expansion for the next generation in a way. Milan?
Yeah, I was just wondering, let's say when we get into those, I guess, space cars, or we started traveling, when you go from physical into that space, wouldn't you kind of heal yourself? As in, you know exactly where you are, and then that way, all the problems that you had, with sickness or not feeling well or whatever, wouldn't that heal you because you know where you are?
Well, we don't use the term healing. I think processing or balancing. We don't cure.
Yeah, balancing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm sure that feature will be added if it's not already been considered. As we know, this car was supposed to be demonstrated, this hovering car, flying car, in Belgium, or, in that area, 2010 or whatever year it was, but it got sort of derailed. So I'm sure there's been a lot of time to play with it and tune it up in a way. I know he said that the car could actually feed you. So instead of driving home from work or whatever and having your wife prepare a meal on the table, you'll be fed while you're traveling in the car. Just another feature that you probably can turn on if so desired.
That's right, Mark. And Milan's asking me an excellent question here, because if you are sitting in a plasma car, so you are the baggage, you're in the physical state. The plasma car is actually in a physical state. It is just using plasma plasma propulsion systems. The transmutation is in a plasmatic state. So yeah, you would be, shall we say, physically manifest in your original state. The interesting point I wanted to bring up is that you want to take things with you when you transmute. So the most obvious, of course, being clothes. So, you know, if you're wearing a coat, a big woolly coat, and you're coming from a northern climate, and you're going to a tropical climate, you don't need the big woolly coat. So maybe you would need, you know, some t-shirt and shorts to be in comfort. But the thing is, you want to take that with you because you don't want to come there and be naked in the middle of an audience and possibly be arrested. But the thing is that the clothes are in a physical state. So we trying to transmute in a plasmatic state and take the clothes in a plasmatic state and then manifest them in a physical state. So we have this dual purpose. It's a cross between traveling inside a plasma car as physical baggage or transmuting and being able to convey baggage. But the thing is, that baggage has to go with you. So this, as it pertains to shipping containers can be transmuted plasmatically. So the question then becomes, what is the difference between you transmuting and physical stuff transmuting? Because that physical stuff then has to be remanifest as it was originally structured. So if there's a, shall we say, a decomposition and then a recomposition, then it has to be precise. Do you just transfer the clothing? Do you transfer the color of the clothing? If you transfer the clothing, will it still have the same consistency? Will it still have the same cut? Will it still have the same functionality? So if the answer is yes, that means there has to be a certain kind of precision. And if that answer is agreeable, then Milan's answer of being able to transmute with your optimum health as being a side effect. And that actually is a very desirable side effect. But then the question goes back, can you transmute in an unhealthy state? Because would that unhealthy state also be transmuted? That unhealthy state is a physical bound state, and the healthy state is a plasma bound state. So now we're starting to get a light into a whole new field, and we haven't been able to talk about that in the public forum. But
if you're going to transmute a shipping container, you're going to need a very large envelope to put it in, aren't you? I mean, an envelope of cosmic rays. That's the way it's going to happen. I know Ed was creating another video today, and he had that concept of the individual sort of being wrapped up around these, within these cosmic rays. And this is the way I see it being done for wellness and other things. going to be put in an envelope, and you can put anything, as Alex said, in that envelope, from a shipping container to a ring to a coin to a letter to a paper currency.
Exactly. Thanks for your question, and thanks, Mark. Back to you.
Okay, anything else from anyone else? Otherwise, I'll play the final disclaimer. Again, we thank you for your presence. We acknowledge you're here with us. And again, the souls are doing the job rather than so much the physicality. And this is part of what we're learning, this game of the souls, the game of the energy, even though we still have a strong attachment to the matter state and think it's running the show. Yeah, when we used to play the video of the body enhancement unit, you could see the cosmic rays in a way, again, in a created video, circling around the chair or the unit in a way. And this is where the work is done between the RNA and the DNA. I believe this is where the cosmic rays sort of put things back in their original position or balance a condition. It's done between, in that space gap, as I understand it. Again, beyond my total full understanding. I'm just an observer, really, and a participant as well. So a lot to explore in this last workshop for you to go and we've put the paper in on black holes, which is a pretty simple paper for us to understand in a way, again, using sort of stories and parables, how the earth plates move and so on, very similar. I was going to ask Alex, Mr. Keshe referred to a black hole, and we know we have black holes all on our skin and everything else absorbing little, he called them energy suckers. Is this like a type of loosh harvesting, or I know you've referred to that many times, is this energy sucker in the same, or is it doing it for a bigger purpose of creation of new materials and new structures or recycling? Is that a type of loosh harvesting?
Loosh harvesting is energy sucking, yes. But you have to understand it's a two-way street. And the one who's doing the sucking is also suffering. Okay, just that suffering is delayed because there has to be a what do you call it, a reconciliation that comes about. So we live in a false sense of security that we can abuse someone else and not suffer from that abuse ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of a black hole, it comes about when two plasma fields cross paths. And yeah, so that sucking is coming out from both sides, you see, and that becomes that gravitational core, and from there you are now, shall we say, getting the best of both worlds, and they're coming together to create that mag-grav condition. So the question at that point, will it be sustainable, or will it be just a passing of two mag-grav fields passing each other? And so it's just like the gold gans. You need an external input to change that state. So the dark hole, the dark matter needs to be converted. There needs to be an external impetus to convert it.
Yeah, and again, I encourage you to take a look at the paper, The Creation of Black Holes, as the preeminent space scientist. Apparently, Stephen Hawking had read that paper. Mr. Keshe had submitted it to the British, I think, the Royal Astronomical Society, and within 60 days, Hawking had changed his position and even released a paper. So you think a little bit of a paper or a few words can't change? He totally changed his position. Again, not acknowledging where that understanding came from, but it still was, position was changed just by reading a paper or aspects of a paper. So it's an amazing work that's going on here within the Keshe Foundation, and we're all part of it. Anything?
Well, again, just remember that action was part of the scientific racism So,
Okay.
so to steal the credit, if you will, and steal the spotlight, and to adopt it as if it was his own revelation. That's where the fallacy comes in.
Oh, I see. He thought he had an epiphany when he actually read a paper, scientific paper published by the Mr.
Well,
Keshe.
the epiphany was grand theft, intellectual property. That's what it was.
Okay. So this is happening across the board, as Mr. Keshe said, with many of the theories that Einstein put forward and so on and so forth. So little by little, it's these books are getting opened up. Okay. Anyone else want to add anything else before we close? I'll play the final disclaimer. Again, thank you all for your presence. I think we all have a bigger work if it's even just within ourselves, but that will expand. We're not here just by coincidence or accident. There's a bigger work going on. We haven't seen the full picture yet, but we're staging for it, so to speak.
Oh, Alex, did you enjoy those videos? Did you get a chance to watch them that I sent?
Oh my God, I was afraid you were going to ask me that.
You didn't?
I'm overwhelmed with work,
Oh,
but
it's
I
enjoyable.
will.
It's
I'm
it.
no doubt, and thank you so much.
Oh, yeah. I think you're gonna enjoy it at least for those. It's only about what 2-3 minutes, 5 minutes for each. But once you start, you ain't gonna stop. Yeah.
Anything we could share here, Milan? Or is
Um.
it something different?
I
I
mean,
don't know what you're referring to, but
no.
it's
It's
something, yeah, you could bring into this session. Is it appropriate? Is it connected to
Oh,
the
it's
foundation?
absolutely appropriate. It is folklore music. It's like Croatian music and Serbian music, and it's just a performance, in front of people. They do performing on the stage. Really like fast music, and it's enjoyable.
It's
Okay.
one
So
of the
it's
pleasures.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's one of the pleasures of our physical existence.
yes. So Alex, if you want to forward them, you're more than welcome because it's you can just listen to them on the YouTube. It's every time I feel bad or sad or whatever, I turn those babies on and put the music as loud as possible, and you forget about all the problems.
Okay. Maybe you want to bring that as a demonstration next time you're here, Milan. We can fit it all in if you think it's.
Well, what do you think, Alex? Why you haven't seen them?
Well, he
So
hasn't seen it. Let him
yeah.
review it, and but again, we're not doing peer review so much anymore, and that's what I had mentioned about the Plasma Times. We put the link in there. This is one of the sort of pillars of the Keshe Foundation, that there's not an extensive peer review or very little to no peer review.
So the reason I sent it to Alex because I was performing for 15 years, dancing across the whole Canada, from British Columbia all the way down to Toronto and everything else, and with the group traveling. And because of that, I get to enjoy all the cultures and everything else. So it's just.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm jealous. Mark plays music as precursor to this meeting, and that would be a great avenue for you to do that.
Yeah, I don't think it would be a problem bringing it in and let him share your understanding and your experience and what you've got.
So how about this? Alex, Mark, I can send it to you. You can look it over, see if you enjoy it or not. If you do, great. If don't, that's fine too.
No problem. I'll take a look at it, or
To
Alex can
Telegram?
look at it. If it's connected to the foundation, I don't think it's a problem.
No, it's not connected to the
No,
foundation. It's
no.
just connected to humanity.
Yes.
Well, that's a different story then. No, I'm just kidding, of course. That's what the foundation is here for, to elevate. This is part of the whole
Well,
process.
yeah, you know how Shweta likes to clap and dance.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah, I think she would be clapping and dancing a lot faster with this one.
Yeah, this could be some of our leisure time activity in the future.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, sounds good.
No problem. We don't mind. I don't mind sharing. If someone has an issue with it, I'm sure it'll be brought up at some point. But yeah, if you feel like you want to stage those videos and bring them in and share your screen, or I can do it, whatever.
How about this, Mark? You send me your message or Telegram. I'll send you the videos and you can watch them and go from there.
Okay, very good.
Just let's not get into any YouTube violations here.
No, right. No.
Yeah, that's another thing that Ed had to work on a bit with this common share license or something, but I think he's resolved it. There was an issue getting the last workshop up because some sort of, again, they create a whole web and now you're in it, but I guess it can be circumvented.
Well, remember that, this gets moved to the Italian, German, and Spanish communities as well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great.
Good. Yeah, no problem at all.
Thank you, gentlemen. You guys did a great job.
Yeah, we're just trying.
Thanks for a wonderful meeting, everybody.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to play again the final disclaimer. The session will come to an end. We'll see you in one of the future programs this week. We're looking forward to see the new Space City, and I'm sure it's going to, especially if he has the hovering car in that sort of demonstration, which he seemed to allude to in this past workshop. But that may not come for a few weeks in the future. But I think it's, as he said, well planned. We just have to support it, participate in it, expand it, and the rest. But it's all being done in a way as a gift from the creator, as I see it. Yes, knowledge seekers will go there, add to the research and so on. But it's all being worked out that we're all part of this whole structure, as you choose to be. It's, again, up to you. I think both structures will continue for a while till one, as you see with the black hole, is sort of consumed or interacted with by the other. And this is what will lead the Keshe Foundation to be probably the premier organization in space and manufacturing on this planet in the coming time, which could be another generation away. We'll have to see how fast things progress. So thank you all again, and have an amazing rest of your weekend. Let's bring up the final disclaimer, and then the session will close. I need to share the screen, I do believe. We'll continue with the sharing here. Thanks again, and we'll see you in one of the future sessions.
Disclaimer. The information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GANs processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.